Hello and welcome to our webinar, Heal Your Mind and Your Life Will Follow. My name is Lainey, and it is my honor to guide you on this journey of healing and self-discovery. In this course, we'll explore how to uncover who you truly are beneath the masks you've created, or the ones society and relationships have placed on you. We will teach you how to begin healing from trauma, whether it comes from childhood or adulthood, whether it's from abuse, combat, or even surviving sexual assault. We'll show what trauma does to the brain specifically, how you can repair it, and how to break free from self-destructive patterns that often follow. This webinar isn't only for those with traumatic pasts. It's also for anyone struggling with unexplained depression, feeling stuck, or trapped in cycles of bad luck. If you felt like you just can't move forward, the proven exercises we'll share can help you shift your energy and begin attracting positivity in powerful ways. Now, some people turn to traditional therapy or psychiatry for healing. While that works for some, I see three big challenges with that path. First is treatment versus healing. Western medicine often focuses on managing symptoms, not curing or preventing them. Medications and endless talk sessions can feel like a temporary bandage rather than a solution. Second is profits over people. The healthcare system runs on profit. If healing were easy and accessible, where would the revenue come from? Too often, patients are strung along instead of truly supported. And last is affordability. Therapy can be expensive. On average, psychiatrists charge $123 to $170 an hour, and some niche therapists charge up to $700 for less than an hour. I don't know about you, but for most of us, that's simply not sustainable. So, what are our options? That's why we designed this course. It's curated, practical, and affordable. We created this with love, inspired by those we've lost to suicide, addiction, or the heavy weight of unhealed trauma. If even one of these tools helps one of you, our mission will be worth it. Inside this program, you'll discover tools to rewire and renew your subconscious, so healing happens almost automatically. You will practice powerful writing and breathing exercises that awaken the pineal gland, the home of your inner spirit. Given bonus materials, like music that uses audio frequency methods to unblock energy centers and restore balance. These exercises can be done in the morning, before bed, or even while you sleep. Once healing begins, we'll also show you how to manifest your dreams and naturally attract positivity without forcing it. So welcome to our little corner of the world. We're so glad you're here. Let the healing begin. Hey everyone, it's me, Lainey again. If you're watching this video, it means you've chosen us to be your guides on your healing journey. First, I want to thank you, not only for your trust, but also for your contribution. It helps us keep the lights on and continue this work. In this module, we're going to focus on your why. Why do you feel the way you do? Why do you make the choices you make? Why does it sometimes feel like only bad things happen to you? Asking yourself why is one of the most powerful tools you have to discover who you really are and what you're truly meant to be doing. Take a moment and think about it. Why do you believe the things you believe? Is it because you were taught them by your family or community? Or is it because you researched, reflected, and decided for yourself? Why do you wear the clothes you wear? Is it because you genuinely like them? Or because someone told you they were in style? Do you wear them to be noticed? To be envied, to signal wealth, or to feel attractive? In other words, are your choices coming from your authentic self or from a need for validation? Why do you surround yourself with the people in your life? Is it because they truly have your best interests at heart? Or is it simply because you've known them for a long time, or fear being excluded, or even fear being alone? When you begin asking yourself these questions and answering them honestly, you start to see yourself clearly. You also begin to identify the negative energies that hold you back from peace, happiness, and living a fulfilled life. Now, I'll admit, I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan. His creator, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, introduced a method of problem solving that became the foundation for modern detective work, the art of deduction. It's all about carefully observing details, analyzing them, and drawing logical conclusions through elimination. As Holmes said, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. I use this method in my own life, and it works. When facing a challenge or making a decision, gather as much information as you can. Then strip away the fluff, the lies, and the noise. What's left is the truth, and the truth always points to what needs to be done. That's the same approach we'll take in this webinar. We'll share data and insights from science, religion, and ancient practices. We'll then show you the common threads woven through them all. We're not here to challenge your beliefs. You have the right to believe what you choose. What we're asking is that you apply deduction, clear away what doesn't serve you, and keep what resonates with truth. If you do, you'll find real tools for healing. Now, I know we live in an age of instant gratification. Most people want results right now. They don't ask why, they only want to know when. They want quick fixes, medicine that stops symptoms immediately, advice that solves everything instantly. But that mindset only patches the surface. It doesn't heal at the root. Think of it like assembling furniture. If you skip the instructions, the piece might look fine at first, but eventually it collapses because something essential was missing. Healing works the same way. If you rush past the why and how, you'll build something temporary. But if you take it step by step, you'll create something strong, lasting, and life-changing. So I encourage you to walk through this process fully. Trust it, learn the why and how, and the when will naturally fall into place. Before long, you won't just be chasing results. You'll be living them every single day. Enjoy this journey of discovery. The first step on your path begins right now. If you're a survivor of abuse, know this: your feelings are valid, and none of this is your fault. Too often, survivors, and even people around them, place blame where it doesn't belong. That's why we created this video, to help break that cycle by understanding how trauma affects the brain. Abuse, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, leaves scars that go deeper than what we can see. It doesn't just hurt in the moment, it rewires the brain, shaping how you think, feel, and relate to others. Let's explore what experts reveal about its real impact. The brain under stress. When exposed to abuse, your brain's alarm system, the amygdala, goes into overdrive. This part of the brain controls your fight or flight response, helping you detect danger. But with prolonged trauma, the amygdala becomes hyperactive, sensing threats even when they aren't there. The result? Constant high alert, anxiety, and fear. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, can become less active. This imbalance leaves you on edge while making it harder for your brain to calm you down. You might feel anxious, easily startled, or struggle to concentrate. Memory and learning. Chronic stress can shrink the hippocampus, the brain's memory and learning center. This makes it harder to remember things clearly. Survivors often experience blurry or fragmented memories. Trauma may resurface as flashes, or entire parts may be blocked out. In courtrooms, for example, survivors may struggle to recall details, leading some to wrongly assume dishonesty. In reality, trauma disrupts memory storage, an important reason to approach survivors with compassion, not doubt. Trauma isn't just emotional, it's biological, and memory gaps are part of the brain's protective response. Emotional blunting. An overactive amygdala can overwhelm you with fear, guilt, and shame. To protect you, the brain sometimes shuts down emotions, a defense mechanism known as emotional blunting. While numbness can offer relief during abuse, many survivors struggle to switch their feelings back on even after the abuse ends. If you're feeling emotionally numb, know that you're not alone. Healing is possible, and it's okay to seek help when you're ready. Emotional dysregulation. A Vanderbilt University study by Grun and Compass found that abuse significantly impairs emotional control by damaging the prefrontal cortex. Imagine driving a car where the brakes barely work and the gas pedal sometimes sticks. That's what happens in the traumatized brain. As a result, emotions may swing wildly, shifting from calm to anxious, sad, or angry without warning. At other times, you might feel nothing at all. Impulsivity and risk-taking. Dr. Jamie Hansen, a neuroscientist and developmental psychologist, discovered that abused children often struggled academically, got worse grades, skipped classes, or got into fights. Research by Malik and colleagues showed similar links between physical abuse and increased drug use, heavy drinking, self-harm, and risky sexual behavior. Abuse overstimulates the amygdala and damages the prefrontal cortex, making calm, thoughtful decisions harder. Emotional pain can drive people to escape or cope through reckless or harmful behaviors. Depression and anxiety. Victims of abuse often report feeling hopeless or overwhelmed, which can lead to depression, feeling sad, empty, or unmotivated, or anxiety, constantly worrying or feeling on edge even without an immediate threat. These feelings may develop into long-term mental health disorders, including PTSD, eating disorders, phobias, and even suicidal thoughts. The good news? Healing is possible. The brain is remarkably adaptable. With the right support and care, it can heal. Abuse leaves deep, lasting effects, but understanding what's happening in your brain is the first step toward reclaiming your mental health. If you are a survivor, please remember, it is not your fault. Reach out to trusted loved ones or seek professional help when you're ready. Abuse leaves lasting marks not only on emotions, but on the very structure and function of the brain. It can distort memory, heighten fear responses, dull emotions, and make self-control more difficult, effects that can echo through relationships, choices, and mental health. But understanding these changes is empowering. It shifts blame away from survivors and highlights the brain's incredible ability to heal. With compassion, support, and proper care, recovery is not only possible, but profoundly transformative. Survivors are not defined by their trauma. They are capable of resilience, growth, and reclaiming their lives. Tough love versus emotional abuse. Tough love is real love. Why? Because it's never easy. It hurts the giver far more than the receiver, said decorated military pilot and Vietnam War hero Bobby M. Miller. Would you agree? Do you believe in tough love? Being a polarizing subject, some people say yes, while others say no. Those who say yes believe it's necessary for setting healthy boundaries. Those who say no argue that it can lead to unhelpful relationship dynamics, or at worst, psychological and emotional harm. But no matter which side you're on, it's crucial to understand the difference between tough love and emotional abuse, so you can recognize when the line has been crossed. Here are 5 important warning signs that what you're experiencing is emotional abuse, not tough love, according to experts. Emotional blackmail. The term emotional blackmail was first coined by therapist and author Dr. Susan Forward. She described it as using fear, obligation, and guilt to manipulate someone. Emotional blackmail exploits your emotional investment in the relationship to get what the manipulator wants. Examples include playing the victim or guilt-tripping you, walking out or stonewalling you, giving you the silent treatment or cold shoulder. Dramatic emotional outbursts, humiliation and degradation. No matter how angry you are, repeatedly name-calling, insulting, or belittling someone, especially in front of others, is never okay. According to licensed family therapist Dr. Beverly Engel, these behaviors are emotional abuse because they're designed to diminish self-esteem. Shame is the most damaging effect of emotional abuse, Dr. Engel says, because it makes victims believe they're unlovable and deserve the mistreatment. Even after the abuser is gone, the shame and low self-worth can linger. Controlling behavior. Tough love comes from someone who wants what's best for you. Emotional abuse comes from someone who wants control. While both may involve lecturing, abuse crosses the line when it involves giving direct orders or making decisions for you, monitoring your whereabouts or digitally spying on you, controlling your finances. These behaviors strip away autonomy, create unhealthy boundaries, and invade privacy. Accusations and gaslighting. Sometimes a firm, no-nonsense approach is necessary in healthy relationships. But wrongful accusations and gaslighting are never justified. According to certified professional life coach Sherry Gordon, trivializing serious issues or invalidating someone's feelings can be a covert form of emotional abuse. Repeated accusations and denial of the abuse can lead to confusion, loss of confidence, and even questioning your mental stability. Emotional abusers often turn the tables, blaming you for the problems. Emotional neglect and isolation. Emotional neglect, deliberately withholding affection or withdrawing to manipulate, is another overlooked form of abuse. According to the University of Rochester Medical Center's Health Encyclopedia, abusers may withdraw emotionally to make you dependent on their validation, isolate you from loved ones so you prioritize them over everyone else. This makes it harder for others to notice what's happening and leaves you vulnerable. Tough love can be firm, but it never strips away empathy or humanity. Emotional abuse, on the other hand, is serious and harmful, just as damaging as physical abuse. It can occur in any relationship, romantic, platonic, or familial, and affect people of any age or gender. If you suspect you're experiencing emotional abuse, trust your instincts, prioritize your safety, and reach out for support. If necessary, exit the relationship and contact a mental health professional or local emergency services. Remember, you matter. When mental health feels overwhelming, it can be frightening when everything feels like it's falling apart. Stress and worry can spiral, triggering feelings of brain fog and emotional shutdown. You're not alone. We've all been there. Here are signs your brain may be overwhelmed and how to address them. Sleepwalking through life. During severe depression or grief, your brain may produce theta waves, normally present just before sleep, even while awake. According to neuroscience research at Shenzhen University in China, people with major depressive disorder show significant increases in theta and alpha wave activity. This explains why you may feel emotionally numb or disconnected. You're not fully present. How to combat this? Motivate your brain with regular exercise. Research shows 150 minutes of aerobic activity per week, walking, swimming, jogging, or dancing, can improve memory, focus, and cognitive function. Fatigue. Fatigue from brain fog can be debilitating and may stem from ADHD, post-COVID effects, chronic fatigue syndrome, or menopause. According to Dr. Dean McKinnon of Johns Hopkins University, brain fog itself isn't a medical term but describes mild cognitive dysfunction caused by underlying conditions. How to fix this? Get 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep each night. Limit screen time before bed. Eat antioxidant-rich foods such as berries, nuts, and broccoli. Memory lapses, forgetfulness, like misplacing your keys or missing small tasks, can increase stress and anxiety. Memory issues linked to brain fog can also affect decision-making at work or school. How to fix this? Take mental breaks when overwhelmed. Try a short walk outside, a warm cup of tea or coffee, listening to calming music, impaired focus. Brain fog can make it hard to focus, especially under stress or when juggling multiple tasks. Distractions like social media can worsen the problem. How to fix this? Compartmentalize your tasks. Separating your responsibilities, emotions, and thoughts reduces overlap and stress, allowing you to stay organized and focused. Psychology Today notes that compartmentalization can also strengthen resilience and emotional health.
Trauma leaves deep imprints on the subconscious, because the subconscious mind is where memories, emotions, and survival patterns are stored. Unlike the conscious mind, which is logical, rational, and aware, the subconscious operates beneath awareness, running on instinct, emotion, and learned responses. When someone experiences trauma, the brain encodes the memory with strong emotional tags: fear, shame, pain. The subconscious holds on to those emotions, even if the conscious mind tries to move on. That's why a smell, a sound, or a place can suddenly trigger intense reactions. Trauma can also trap the nervous system in a loop of hypervigilance. Stay alert, stay guarded, so even safe situations feel threatening. It plants limiting beliefs like, "I'm not safe," "I'm not worthy," or "people can't be trusted," which shape behavior, relationships, and self-image long after the original wound. The subconscious also speaks through the body. Trauma may show up as tension, headaches, gut issues, or chronic pain. Even without conscious recall, the body remembers. And because the subconscious tries to resolve the unresolved, people often find themselves unconsciously repeating painful patterns. Suppressed memories can even surface as nightmares, flashbacks, or symbols in dreams as the subconscious struggles to process them. In short, trauma programs the subconscious like software. It reshapes automatic responses, beliefs, and protective mechanisms that outlast the original danger. Healing means bringing these patterns into awareness through therapy, meditation, journaling, EMDR, somatic work, and rewriting them. Visualization is a powerful tool here. If you sit quietly, relax your body completely, and create a clear mental picture of who you want to be, then describe it in writing in the present tense. I am so happy now that, and read it over and over, you begin to plant a new program. All great teachers have agreed on this. We become what we think about. It may feel like fantasy at first, but as William James said, believe, and your belief will create the fact. With repetition, the subconscious begins to believe, and your personality starts to change. Breathwork can accelerate this change. By using the intrinsic muscles to exhale forcefully, then pulling your breath from the perineum up into the lower abdomen, locking your belly, lifting your chest, straightening your spine, you build pressure that moves energy upward. As your brain waves slow from beta into alpha, you enter the operating system of the mind. In theta, the hypnotic state, you're highly suggestible to your own thoughts, and this is where deep change takes place. Each night as you drift off, the brain dips into theta. This is a window for self-hypnosis. Put in this. Now, let's talk about the pineal gland, often called the seat of the soul. I call it an antenna, because it transmits and receives electromagnetic energy. It's a tiny, pine cone-shaped gland in the center of your brain, long associated with higher states of consciousness, intuition, and mystical experience. Ever walk into a room and instantly feel the energy there? That's intuition, your inner antenna at work. To truly activate the pineal gland, you first have to detoxify it. Remove the blocks. Fluorides, heavy metals, processed foods, and forever chemicals can calcify and dull its function. Eat clean, hydrate, choose natural foods, bathe in chemical-free water, and avoid synthetic additives. Create the internal environment for the gland to awaken, then activate it with meditation, especially breathwork meditation. Deep, rhythmic breathwork for 2 to 3 hours can trigger a near-death-like state in the body, though you're completely safe. This pressurizes the pineal gland, gently squeezing it to release greater amounts of naturally occurring DMT, the molecule of dreams, visions, and altered states. Cold plunging has a similar effect, shocking the brain into hyper-alertness and flooding it with dopamine, norepinephrine, and adrenaline. These chemicals sharpen focus, boost mood, reduce inflammation, and build stress resilience. People report vivid visions, heightened connection, and a deep inner knowing, without substances, without external chemicals, just by mastering their breath, their focus, and their nervous system. So think of pineal activation as a two-step process. Detoxify the body, then activate through meditation and breathwork. Done together, you're not just improving your health, you're opening a doorway into deeper states of awareness that spiritual traditions have described for thousands of years. Finally, let's discuss sexual retention, the mastery of life force energy. Sexual energy is the same power that can create life. Every release spends the most concentrated energy your body produces. Energy that can fill your mind, strengthen your aura, and awaken your creative genius. For men, semen retention preserves Jing or Ojas, vital energy taught in Taoist and yogic traditions. Through practices like brahmacharya, sexual desire is not suppressed but transmuted upward through the spine, transforming into creativity, insight, and divine awareness. This creates an aura of power, charisma, and heightened intuition, qualities linked historically to saints, monks, yogis, and warriors. For women, orgasmic and energetic retention is about cultivating womb power. In many indigenous and tantric traditions, the womb is seen as a sacred portal. Retaining sexual energy can awaken Shakti, the divine feminine energy, enhancing intuition, creativity, and spiritual sensitivity. Women's cycles are already attuned to lunar rhythms. Conserving sexual energy aligns them more deeply with cosmic cycles, nourishing both body and spirit. Practices like the Taoist jade egg circulate sexual energy upward through the chakras, creating inner vitality and empowerment. For both men and women, sexual retention unites energies, harmonizes polarities, and transforms sexuality into spirituality. This is not suppression but mastery, turning the most potent life force inward to fuel meditation, manifestation, and awakening. And yes, it takes discipline. The modern system profits off your lust. Porn, advertising, music videos, they flood your mind with hypersexual images to keep you drained, distracted, and stuck in lower energies. When you constantly leak life force, you lose focus, drive, and spirit. But transmute that energy instead of wasting it, and your life changes. Your confidence rises, your mind sharpens, your Kundalini awakens, unlocking the creative and spiritual side the system doesn't want you to reach. All these practices, rewriting the subconscious, awakening the pineal gland, mastering sexual energy, are connected. They're about reclaiming your power, reprogramming your mind, and turning inward to unlock states of awareness and vitality that most people never access. This isn't fantasy. This is your birthright.
Influence and intent, the energy that shapes us. We don't give our bodies the respect they truly deserve. From an early age, we're taught to look beyond the sky for something greater, or to fear what lies beneath us. Dark forces, shadows, boogeymen. But in doing so, we forget the immense power that exists right here within us. And I'm not speaking in metaphors, I mean this literally. Our bodies are living, breathing energy conductors. We are built with antennas capable of receiving, emitting, and repelling energy through magnetism and polarity. Yet most of us take this gift for granted. We misuse it carelessly, without discipline. And worse, we often hand over our power, letting others exploit it for their own gain and greed. Every word we speak, every action we take, every thought we carry sends out ripples that extend far beyond the moment. That's the influence, the impact of our energy on others and on the world. But influence without direction is raw, untamed power. That's where intent comes in. Intent is what shapes that energy, guiding it with purpose. Together, influence and intent don't just shape our relationships and environments, they shape biology itself. Science now confirms what ancient wisdom has always taught. Sound, vibration, and frequency don't just move through air or water, they move through us. A song can slow your heartbeat. A soft tone can ease tension. A single harsh word can spike your stress hormones. Vibrations resonate in our cells, our brains, and our hearts. But energy on its own is neutral. It's what we choose to do with it that matters. Intent can turn a sound wave into a healing chant or into a destructive insult. It can turn a drumbeat into a call for peace or into a march to war. When we learn to understand the link between influence, intent, and energy, we step into our true role, not just as receivers of energy, but as conductors of it. We become conscious creators of the worlds we live in. The real question is not whether you have influence. The real question is, how will you choose to wield it? Every action, word, and thought you put into the world carries influence. But influence without intent is like electricity without a circuit. It has power, but no direction. What if the energy behind your intent could literally reshape biology, affect mood, and alter the vibrations around you? Section 1. Influence and intent defined. Influence is the ripple effect of what we do, how our words and actions impact others. Intent is the conscious direction we give that influence. Together, they determine whether our energy uplifts or diminishes, heals or harms. Science has long shown that sound is energy, vibration traveling through matter. Every frequency, from a whisper to a drumbeat, moves molecules, creating measurable changes. Tibetan singing bowls, chanting, or even a favorite song can shift your mood because your body responds biologically. Heart rate, hormones, and brainwaves adjust to rhythm and tone. When sound waves hit the eardrum, they trigger a cascade. Vibrations travel through bones in the inner ear, convert to electrical signals, and stimulate the auditory cortex. But the effects go deeper. Studies show certain frequencies can lower cortisol, the stress hormone, or synchronize brainwaves into calmer states like alpha or theta. Even your heartbeat has rhythm. The body isn't just influenced by energy, it is energy. Cells communicate through electrical impulses. Your nervous system, heartbeat, and even DNA vibrations operate on frequencies. Section 2. Intent shapes energy. Intent adds purpose to this raw power. Consider two scenarios. A sharp word spoken in anger versus the same word spoken with empathy. Both are sound waves, but the intent changes their influence. A drum beat in a war march versus a heartbeat-like rhythm in a lullaby. Frequency alone isn't enough. Meaning and purpose shape the impact. Becoming aware of your intent allows you to wield influence responsibly. The tone of your voice can calm or agitate. The energy you bring into a room can uplift or weigh it down. Even music or environments you choose feed back into your biology, shaping stress levels, focus, and emotional health. Section 3. Bringing it together. Influence and intent aren't abstract ideas. They're forces that interact with the physics of sound and vibration and with the biology of our bodies. The universe is a symphony of frequencies, and you're both a player and a conductor. The question is, what energy will you choose to broadcast? Your intent gives shape to your influence. Your energy, expressed through sound, vibration, and frequency, affects more than moods. It resonates at the biological level. Choose wisely, act consciously, and remember, every ripple you send into the world is part of a much larger wave. The human body, the earth, and the cosmos. You know, when I think about the human body, I can't help but see it as one of the most sophisticated systems in the known universe. In fact, the body functions a lot like a computer. The brain acts as the CPU, processing information, making decisions, directing everything else. Our DNA? That's our storage drive, recording both instructions and experience. Your senses are your input devices, constantly scanning, tasting, touching, hearing, taking in raw data from the world around you. Your speech, your movement, your expression. Those are your output systems, translating thought into action. And just like a circuit board, neurons fire electrical signals, sending energy and information at lightning speed. Your consciousness acts like an operating system, managing priorities, switching between tasks, keeping everything running in balance. Even your learned behaviors, your habits, your instincts, operate like software you've installed over time. Metabolism is your power supply, feedback systems your regulators, always keeping your internal world in equilibrium. When you step back and look at it, the human body isn't just a biological machine, it's an information processing masterpiece. Now let's zoom out. If you compare the body, a computer, and even an entire city, the similarities are astonishing. In all three, there's a center of command. In the body, it's the brain. In a computer, it's the CPU. In a city, it's the downtown core, where decisions and control flow outward. Your circulatory system is like a network of roads, data circuits, and energy grids, distributing oxygen, power, or information. Your senses and city sensors both gather input. Your muscles and transportation systems both create movement and response. Neurons carry signals the same way fiber optic cables carry data. Your metabolism, electricity, or a city's power grid, all are energy systems keeping the whole alive. Even feedback loops, whether it's your body regulating temperature or a city adjusting traffic lights, serve the same purpose, balance and efficiency. When we understand that, we start to see something beautiful, universal principles of organization, flow, and harmony that repeat themselves at every scale of existence. And that brings me to something deeper. In ancient times, the human body wasn't taken for granted. It was revered. The form of man and woman shaped entire civilizations, entire belief systems. But somewhere along the way, we lost that reverence. We've been conditioned to dismiss the body, mock it, manipulate it, mutilate it. We carve it for beauty instead of honoring it for balance. We speak recklessly, unaware that words carry vibration, that intent shapes not only the mind, but the body and even the space around us. The body still influences how we build our world, our art, our architecture, our beliefs. But most of us have forgotten that. The truth is, the human body, the earth, and the cosmos are not separate. They are built from the same materials, animated by the same energy, following the same rhythms. The calcium in your bones was forged in ancient stars. The rivers that flow across continents mirror the branching of neurons in your brain. Your heartbeat syncs to circadian rhythms, just as the planet moves in cycles around the sun. The universe recycles and renews itself. Stars are born, die, and seed new life. The Earth does the same through seasons and tectonic cycles. And your body regenerates cells, adapts, transforms. We are not observers of the universe, we are expressions of it, living extensions of its universal laws. Now let's talk about one of the clearest examples of this connection, the relationship between the moon and the feminine body. For thousands of years, people measured time by the moon. A full lunar cycle takes 28 nights, and a healthy woman's menstrual cycle, on average, takes about the same. Coincidence? Maybe. But ancient civilizations didn't think so. They saw the moon as a guide, a calendar, a living symbol of feminine energy. Ovulation often aligned with the full moon, menstruation with the new moon. Women tracked their health and fertility through the moon's phases, a natural, cosmic rhythm of release and renewal. The moon was personified as a goddess: Selene, Artemis, Luna, Chandra, Changi. She represented intuition, receptivity, and transformation. While the sun, the masculine principle, was constant and radiant, the moon reflected light through change. Her phases, new, waxing, full, and waning, mirrored the stages of womanhood. The maiden, full of potential. The mother, radiant in creation. The crone, wise in release. Just as the moon pulls the tides, it also seems to influence emotional tides within us. Cycles of growth, reflection, and letting go. Even today, though our lifestyles and technology have disrupted some of that alignment, the moon remains a living metaphor for the rhythms of life, biological, emotional, and spiritual. Now, the male body mirrors something just as grand: the sun. Both radiate outward energy. Testosterone drives action, strength, and expression, just as the sun projects warmth and light to sustain life. Male biology runs on daily and yearly cycles, echoing the sun's rhythm of dawn, dusk, and return. The male body's core generates energy that flows outward, just as the sun's core burns with nuclear fire, pushing life-giving radiation across the cosmos. Symbolically, the sun has always represented leadership, vitality, and creation. It stands as the masculine archetype, the constant, the provider, the spark that sustains. And when you place the sun and moon together, the masculine and feminine, you don't get conflict. You get harmony, balance, duality working as one. Ancient cultures understood this deeply. Their gods and goddesses weren't random characters, they were reflections of us. Male deities like Thor, Huitzilopochtli, or Cernunnos embodied protection, strength, and willpower. Female deities like Demeter, Pachamama, Oshun, and Chang'e embodied nurture, intuition, and fertility. These weren't opposites, they were complements. Sun and moon, sky and earth, action and reflection. Together they taught that harmony is born not from dominance, but from balance. Through myth and ritual, these stories gave people something modern society has largely forgotten, a model for living in tune with nature, not above it. And when you step back, you see the same repeating patterns again and again. Cycles, energy flows, fractals. The same elements appear at every level: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, iron, inside stars, inside Earth, inside you. It's all connected. When you study the cosmos, you're also studying your own anatomy. When you look into nature, you're looking into a mirror. The human body, the earth, and the universe, they don't just coexist. They speak to each other through energy, rhythm, and sacred repetition. And maybe that's the real message. We're not separate. We're not superior. We're participants in a single, living system. A cosmic dance of balance, regeneration, and light. Here's a clear, science-grounded way to understand the similarities between the human body, Earth, and astronomy, blending biology, geology, and cosmic patterns. 1. Cycles and rhythms. Human body operates on circadian rhythms, 24-hour cycles, regulating sleep, hormones, and metabolism. Earth rotates once every 24 hours, creating day and night. Seasonal changes follow its orbit around the sun. Astronomy, celestial bodies move in predictable cycles, planetary orbits, star life cycles, and galactic rotations. These cosmic rhythms echo the body's biological clocks. 2. Water content and circulation. Human body, 60% water. Blood and lymph circulate nutrients and remove waste, much like rivers and currents. Earth, 71% of its surface is water. Ocean currents distribute heat, nutrients, and influence climate. Astronomy. Water is a key ingredient in planetary science, frozen on moons like Europa and Enceladus, or present as vapor in distant star-forming regions, suggesting water's universality in sustaining life. 3. Magnetic fields and electrical activity. Human body, nerve impulses and heartbeats are electrical. The brain emits measurable electromagnetic fields, EEG. Earth generates a magnetic field via its molten iron core, shielding life from harmful solar radiation. Astronomy. Stars, planets, and galaxies are shaped by magnetic forces. Solar flares, auroras, and even galactic jets are magnetic phenomena. 4. Composition and elements. Human body. Primarily oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. Elements forged in stars. Earth, built of the same stardust elements, iron in the core, silicon in rocks, carbon in life. Astronomy. The phrase, "we are stardust," is literal. Supernovae scattered the elements that became both our bodies and our planet. 5. Structural parallels. Human body, networks, veins and arteries, neural pathways, and alveoli in the lungs resemble branching rivers or cosmic filaments. Earth, river systems and lightning patterns mirror the fractal geometry of neural networks. Astronomy, large-scale maps of galaxies show filament-like webs that look strikingly similar to neural connections in the human brain. 6. Energy flow and balance. Human body maintains homeostasis, balancing temperature, pH, and energy use. Earth balances energy via the greenhouse effect, ocean-atmosphere interactions, and ecosystems. Astronomy. Stars balance inward gravity and outward fusion pressure. Galaxies balance rotation and gravitational pull. 7. Birth, death, and renewal. Human body. Cells die and regenerate constantly. Skin renews every 28 days, red blood cells every 4 months. Earth, geological processes recycle material. Volcanoes create land, erosion reshapes continents, and ecosystems renew themselves. Astronomy, stars are born, evolve, and explode, seeding the universe with elements for new stars and planets, mirroring cycles of renewal on all scales. Key takeaway. The human body, Earth, and the cosmos share repeating patterns. Cycles, energy flows, fractals, and elemental composition. These parallels reveal that humans aren't separate from the universe, but expressions of the same physical and energetic laws. Observing Earth's rhythms or the stars above is, in a sense, looking at reflections of our own biology. Nikola Tesla said, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Before smartphones lit our pockets and MRI machines revealed our bones, there was something far older, an unseen river of life flowing through everything. Every culture, on every continent, once felt its pulse. And that thing is energy. Energy takes many forms, and it affects every carbon-based life form on this planet. Energy can be manipulated by many things. Frequency, i.e. sound or harmonics, light or absence of light, or colors, or simply moving or existing. Even geometric shapes and certain math manipulate certain energy. But we will touch on that later. Insects, animals, and humans. The cycle of consumption. Let's start with something simple, something we all share. Every living thing on this planet, from the tiniest ant to the largest whale, even us humans, depends on the energy of others to survive. We are consumers. We take in energy, use it, and release it back into the world. And that energy shows up in remarkable ways. We release heat, not just when we're sweating, but even at rest. Every heartbeat, every muscle contraction, every blink of an eye produces warmth. This isn't wasted. It's the byproduct of life itself, the echo of metabolism doing its work. Then there's chemical energy, stored in our bodies as fat, protein, and sugar. When life ends, this energy doesn't disappear, it transfers. Through decomposition or digestion, it becomes food for something else. Kinetic energy, that's movement itself. The flapping of a bird's wings, the buzzing of a fly, the flex of a runner's legs. Energy in motion, and even electrical energy. Yes, electrical. Honeybees, for example, generate tiny electrical charges as they fly. When they swarm, they can actually influence the electrical field of the atmosphere. So, in a very real sense, life doesn't just exist in energy, it creates it. Plants, the producers. Now, if animals and humans are consumers, then plants are the producers, the architects of life's energy economy. Through photosynthesis, plants perform what can only be described as alchemy. They take sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water and turn them into chemical energy, stored as glucose and starch. When they're eaten or decomposed, that energy continues its journey through the food chain. And like us, plants release heat, some even more dramatically than we'd expect. The skunk cabbage, for instance, can generate enough warmth to melt snow around it. The sacred lotus heats itself to attract pollinators. Even in silence, the plant world hums with thermal life. And of course, in their photosynthetic miracle, plants release oxygen, the element that makes all our energy exchange possible. So from the buzzing bee to the blooming flower, there's a balance. Energy consumed, energy created, energy shared. Ethereal energy, the invisible thread. But now let's take a step beyond the measurable and into the mysterious. For thousands of years, cultures around the world have spoken of another kind of energy, something unseen yet deeply felt. In China, they called it qi, the vital breath that threads the universe and quickens all living things. In Japan, it became ki, the same current that guides the movements of Aikido and fuels the healing touch of Reiki. In India, it is prana, the sacred breath that weaves reality itself, cultivated through yoga and the rhythm of breath called pranayama. In Tibet, they named it sok and relung, life force and wind. Across the Pacific, the Polynesians called it mana, a divine spark that could dwell in a warrior, a mountain, or even a seashell. In Hebrew, it was ruach, the breath of God moving over the waters. In Islam, ruh, the divine exhalation that awakens the soul. To the Greeks, pneuma, breath and soul. To the Romans, spiritus, the very word that gave us spirit. And in ancient Egypt, ka, the eternal double that walks beside us after death. Across the Americas, the Iroquois spoke of orenda, the spiritual fire inside all things. In southern Africa, the Khoisan people danced with Noom, a living electric force summoned in trance to heal the sick. To others, it was Nyama, the vital power that animates existence. And some simply called it magic. A universal belief. Across continents and centuries, these cultures weren't talking to each other, but they were all saying the same thing. Life is animated by an invisible, sacred current, a force that connects every person, creature, and element of nature. They believed breath and life are one. Breath wasn't just air, it was the spark of consciousness itself. The universe is interconnected. This energy flows through all beings and even through the earth itself. It can be nurtured or directed. Through meditation, movement, ritual, or breathwork, you could align with this force. It transcends death. The body may fade, but the energy, the essence, continues. These beliefs tell us that the boundary between physical and spiritual isn't a wall, it's a veil. Thin, permeable, alive. So maybe the ancients weren't primitive mystics after all. Maybe they were the first physicists, describing in their own language what we're only now beginning to measure. Every breath we take, every heartbeat, every flash of thought is part of the same rhythm, the pulse of the cosmos itself. Whether you call it chi or current, prana or pulse, it's all one energy flowing through you right now. And when we begin to see that connection, not just intellectually, but experientially, we remember something vital. We are not apart from life's energy. We are life's energy, living, breathing, and endlessly transforming within the same sacred circuit that powers the stars. Ancient energy meets modern science. Now let's bring this conversation into the modern age. If we take traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, as a representative of these ancient energy-based systems, we can see something profound. TCM views the body not as a machine, but as a field of energy, an ecosystem where health depends on the smooth flow of qi through invisible pathways called meridians. When energy stagnates, illness follows. When energy moves freely, we thrive. Now compare that to what modern physics tells us. At the smallest level, everything, every atom, every particle, is energy. Matter itself is a condensed vibration. Your body, your thoughts, the air around you, they're all fluctuating fields of energy interacting constantly. So while the languages differ, chi, prana, spiritus, electromagnetic field, the underlying message is eerily similar. Life is energy. Energy is life. We've just traded the poetry of the ancients for the precision of science. Is chi simply a mystical idea, or is there science behind this ancient concept? Let's explore the true meaning of chi, how traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, understands it, and what modern research is beginning to reveal. Understanding chi may be the missing key to unlocking greater health, vitality, and balance in your life. What is chi? Chi, also spelled chi, is often translated as energy or life force, but those words only scratch the surface. In TCM, chi is the subtle vitality that flows through every living being. It travels along invisible pathways in the body called meridians, maintaining organ function, nourishing tissues, and protecting you from illness. When chi moves freely, you feel energized, resilient, and at ease. But when chi becomes blocked, stagnant, or deficient, it can manifest as fatigue, pain, anxiety, digestive issues, or chronic tension. Chi isn't just a physical fuel like ATP, it's a dynamic, interconnected process, the movement of vitality, consciousness, and life itself. The historical roots of chi. The concept of chi appears in some of China's oldest texts, including the Huangdi Neijing, the Yellow Emperor's Inner Canon, written over 2,000 years ago. These writings describe chi as a fundamental substance arising from the interaction of heaven, earth, and humanity. Over centuries, scholars and healers refined these ideas into a sophisticated system of health and medicine. TCM recognizes different forms of chi. Nutritive chi, yin chi, nourishes tissues and organs. Defensive qi, wei qi, acts as a shield against pathogens. Ancestral qi, yuan qi, inherited from your parents, a parallel to modern ideas of genetics. Qi doesn't just animate the body, it connects you to the rhythms of nature and the universe itself. How qi flows through the body. Qi circulates through 12 main meridians, each linked to a specific organ system. Practices like acupuncture, acupressure, and qigong aim to influence this flow, restoring balance, releasing stagnation, and stimulating the body's self-healing abilities. But qi is not confined within you. The air you breathe, the food you eat, and even the shifting energy of the seasons all carry qi. When you interact with your environment, whether through sunlight on your skin, the breath of a forest walk, or the nourishment of a meal, you exchange qi with the world around you. What modern science is discovering? Skeptics often claim qi is purely metaphorical. And to an extent, qi is a symbolic way of describing complex life processes. But science is beginning to uncover parallels, bioelectricity and electromagnetic fields. Your body generates measurable electric currents and magnetic fields that guide cellular communication and healing. Some researchers suggest qi may correspond to these subtle forces. Fascia and connective tissue. Recent studies show fascia forms a continuous network that transmits signals and links organs, providing a possible anatomical explanation for meridian pathways. Mind-body effects. Practices like Qigong and Tai Chi have been shown to alter brainwave patterns, improve heart rate variability, and reduce stress hormones, objective signs of physiological change when working with Qi. Though modern instruments can't yet measure Qi directly, these discoveries hint at overlapping mechanisms between ancient wisdom and contemporary science. Health isn't merely the absence of disease, it's the harmonious flow of qi. When qi is balanced, you experience greater energy, a stronger immune system, clearer focus, improved mood, and faster recovery. When qi is blocked or depleted, small issues can grow into chronic illness. By addressing imbalances early, when they are subtle and invisible, you can prevent deeper problems from taking hold. Cultivating qi in your daily life. You don't need to be a monk to work with qi. Here are practical, time-tested ways to nurture your energy. Qigong and Tai Chi. Gentle, flowing movement practices that harmonize breath, body, and intention. Breath work. Deep, rhythmic breathing calms your nervous system and regulates qi flow. Acupuncture or acupressure. Stimulate meridians to release blockages and restore balance. Diet and herbal support. Foods like ginger, ginseng, and astragalus, huang qi, are known to strengthen qi. Eating seasonally and mindfully also supports energy flow. Lifestyle habits. Spend time outdoors, stay hydrated, and manage stress. Simple choices like sunlight exposure or mindful walking help replenish your natural qi. Bridging wisdom and science. Qi is more than a mystical notion. It's a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern understanding. It represents the flow of life itself, the balance within you, and the connection you share with your environment. Traditional Chinese medicine offers a holistic view of health that science is only exploring. Your qi could be a powerful next step. Perhaps you've tried supplements, stress hacks, or lifestyle tweaks, yet something still feels out of alignment. That's where personalized holistic care can make the difference. Now we have talked about energy in a general sense. Now let's discuss the importance of the balance of it. Not just in energy, but of all things. Balance is the hidden rhythm that governs all levels of existence, from the individual human body to entire ecosystems, from social structures to the cosmos itself. It is the force that sustains life, ensures harmony, and allows energy to flow freely. Without balance, systems falter, whether in our minds, our communities, or the universe at large. Understanding the importance and inevitability of balance offers profound insight into how we live, interact, and align with the natural and cosmic order. The universal law of balance. Let's start with something simple, but profound. Everything that exists survives through balance. Whether it's the way we breathe, the way nature grows, or the way the universe expands, everything depends on harmony between forces. When balance is kept, life thrives. When it's lost, systems, whether personal, ecological, or cosmic, begin to break down. So today, I want to explore the idea of balance as a universal law, one that governs humanity, nature, energy, and even the cosmos itself. Let's begin with the most immediate layer, us. 1. Balance in humanity. When we talk about balance, we usually think of it in physical terms. And that's where it starts. Physical balance is about maintaining our health through the right mix of nutrition, movement, rest, and stress management. If one of these tilts too far, if we overwork, underrest, or neglect nourishment, the body starts to send signals: fatigue, illness, burnout. The body's way of saying, return to balance. Then there's emotional and mental balance. Our inner world depends on regulating emotions and desires, not suppressing them, but keeping them in healthy proportion. When anger, fear, or attachment take over, they distort perception. They damage relationships. Emotional extremes always come with a cost to peace, clarity, and connection. Social balance works the same way. Communities depend on fairness, cooperation, and reciprocity. When exploitation replaces empathy, or when a few benefit at the expense of the many, social harmony fractures. That's when conflict, division, and distrust start to rise. And finally, there's moral and ethical balance. Ethics isn't about strict rules, it's about proportion. Our actions should serve both the self and collective. When greed, corruption, or selfishness take over, we create disharmony, both within society and within ourselves. So the takeaway here is simple but profound. Humanity thrives only when balance exists within individuals, between people, and throughout the systems we build. Number 2, balance in nature. Now let's step back and look at the natural world, because nature is perhaps the greatest teacher of balance. Ecosystem balance is built on interdependence. Every species, predator, prey, pollinator, decomposer, plays a role in maintaining equilibrium. Remove one piece and the system trembles. Overpopulate one species or destroy another, and the whole cycle shifts, sometimes irreversibly. Energy flow in nature is also circular. Sunlight feeds the plants, plants feed animals, animals decompose into soil, and soil nourishes new life. That flow keeps everything resilient. But when we cut forests, pollute rivers, or drain ecosystems, that energy loop breaks, and nature begins to lose its self-sustaining power. And nature's intelligence lies in its feedback loops. Positive feedback amplifies change, negative feedback restores stability. It's how forests regrow after fires, or how populations adjust after scarcity. Nature seeks homeostasis, a state of living balance. Not static, not frozen, but constantly self-correcting. 3. Cosmic and universal balance. Let's zoom out even further. Beyond the Earth, balance operates on a cosmic scale. Celestial mechanics, the orbits of planets, the pull of gravity, the forces that hold galaxies together, all rely on precise equilibrium. If any of these forces shifted dramatically, stars could collapse, planets could spin out of orbit, and life as we know it would disappear. And yet, even in the vastness of space, imbalance is part of the cycle. Asteroid impacts, supernovas, the birth and death of stars, all of these destructive moments eventually feed new creation. This is the yin and yang of the universe. Gravity versus expansion, matter versus antimatter, order versus chaos. They don't cancel each other out, they define each other. And through these cycles of creation and destruction, balance is maintained. Stars are born, live, die, and recycle their elements into new worlds. The universe doesn't cling to stability, it maintains harmony through transformation. 4. Balance in energy. Now let's bring it back to a more personal dimension, energy. Every human being is an energetic system. Our physical, emotional, and spiritual energies must flow in harmony. When we overwork, suppress emotions, or lose alignment, our energy drains. When we rest, meditate, or reconnect with nature, that flow restores itself. It's the same principle on an environmental scale. Natural energy cycles, solar, wind, water, are meant to renew themselves. But when we overconsume fossil fuels or disrupt these systems, we create an energetic imbalance that ripples outward as climate change. And then there's universal energy, what some traditions call chi, or prana. It's the idea that all life is connected through an invisible current of force. When that current is blocked or imbalanced, in a person, a community, or an ecosystem, disharmony spreads. The lesson is timeless. Whether it's within our bodies or across galaxies, energy must move freely, rhythmically, and in balance. 5. The inevitability and importance of balance. So what happens when balance is lost? The answer is consequence. The law of cause and effect guarantees that imbalance always creates reaction. Overconsumption leads to scarcity. Aggression breeds conflict. Excess, in any form, eventually brings correction. And these corrections aren't always gentle. Nature and society both have self-correcting systems. Sometimes they restore balance slowly, through adaptation, evolution, awareness. Other times they do it violently, through natural disasters, collapses, or revolutions. But one truth remains constant. Balance isn't optional. It's essential for survival. Systems, biological, social, or cosmic, that ignore equilibrium inevitably collapse. And that's why every spiritual and philosophical tradition, from Buddhism to Taoism to indigenous cosmologies, teaches the same lesson. Life is a dance of opposing forces. Creation and decay, light and shadow, growth and rest. Wisdom isn't about escaping that dance. It's about moving with it. To live in balance is to live in alignment with the way everything, from the cells in our bodies to the galaxies above, is designed to flow. So the next time you feel off-center, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, pause. Look around. Because the balance you seek is not something you need to create, it's something you need to remember. After all, balance isn't just a state of being, it's the rhythm of existence itself. Summary: balance is universal and inevitable. From the human body to societies, ecosystems, celestial bodies, and energy flows, imbalance generates stress, disruption, and eventual correction. Harmony is the underlying law of life, not a static state, but a dynamic interplay of forces seeking equilibrium. In short, the universe is a system of energy and cycles. To exist fully and sustainably, humanity must live in balance, with itself, with nature, and with the cosmic order. Imbalance always leads to correction, whether gradual or dramatic. The harmony of sevens, how the universe speaks in patterns. You've probably heard the saying that everything in the universe is connected. But what if I told you that connection isn't just philosophical? It's mathematical, vibrational, and energetic. It's written into the very design of life itself, in the language of seven. Across nature, music, time, spirituality, even biology, the number 7 repeats like a divine signature. 7 colors in the rainbow, 7 notes in a musical scale, 7 chakras in the human body, 7 days in a week. Even the lunar and menstrual cycles move in rhythms of 28 days, 4 sets of 7. And none of this is coincidence. These patterns point to a deeper truth. The entire universe is organized through vibration and harmony. Everything, from light to sound to human emotion, follows this same universal rhythm. 1. The law of 7, the rhythm of creation. In almost every culture, 7 symbolizes completeness, a full cycle. Think of music. After 7 notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, we return to the octave, a higher version of the same note. In time, after 7 days, we return to Sunday, the cycle of renewal. In our energy body, after 7 chakras, energy rises from survival all the way to enlightenment. Every 7 represents movement through vibration, from the physical to the spiritual, from the dense to the refined, from matter to light. So in essence, the law of 7 reminds us that balance isn't static, it's cyclical. It's a dance. 2. Chakras and the rainbow spectrum. Now let's look at the human energy system. The chakras. These are 7 primary energy centers running along the spine, each vibrating at a specific frequency, each one corresponding to a color of the rainbow. At the base, you have the root chakra, red, grounding you in safety and survival. Move up to the sacral chakra, glowing orange, that's creativity and emotion. Then comes the solar plexus, a bright yellow, your center of power and self-esteem. At your chest lies the heart chakra, green, love, compassion, and healing. Your throat chakra shines blue, the vibration of truth and communication. The third eye is indigo, the gateway to intuition and inner vision. And finally, at the crown of the head, the crown chakra, violet or white, your connection to the divine, to universal consciousness. As energy ascends through these centers, it increases in frequency, just like light moving up the color spectrum, or sound rising through musical notes. Your body is literally a living prism, refracting spirit into matter and matter back into spirit. When your chakras are balanced, your whole being hums in harmony, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. 3. Chakras and the musical scale. Now imagine each chakra as a musical note. The root resonates like the note C, deep, grounding, steady. The sacral moves to D, fluid and emotional. The solar plexus vibrates to E, confident and bright. The heart sings in F, warm, open, and full of compassion. The throat moves to G, expression and communication. The third eye to A, clear vision, intuition, higher perception. And the crown vibrates to B, ethereal, transcendent, almost silent. When one note is off, the entire song, the whole body, feels dissonant. But when each note is tuned, aligned, and resonant, you become a living symphony. Your words, your thoughts, your actions, they all harmonize with the vibration of creation itself. 4. The 7 deadly sins, when the chakras fall out of tune. Now here's where it gets really interesting. In Christianity, there's the concept of the 7 deadly sins: lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. And when you really look at it, each of these sins corresponds to a blocked or distorted chakra. Lust, for example, is an imbalance of the sacral chakra, a craving for pleasure without emotional depth. Gluttony ties to the solar plexus, overconsumption to fill a void of power or self-worth. Greed lives in the root chakra, fear of scarcity and obsession with material security. Sloth reflects both the solar plexus and the heart, the loss of purpose, drive, and compassion. Wrath stems from an overactive throat or solar plexus, power and expression misused to dominate rather than communicate. Envy clouds the heart chakra, an inability to love yourself or celebrate others. And pride sits high in the crown chakra, a spiritual ego that forgets humility and unity. So the 7 sins are not punishments, they're symptoms. They show what happens when the natural flow of energy through the chakras becomes blocked or misdirected. And just like in music, when one frequency falls out of tune, the whole system loses harmony. 5. The cycles of time, 7 days and 28 nights. This same rhythm of 7 even structures time itself. There are 7 days in a week, a pattern so universal it's embedded in every major calendar. 4 weeks of 7 days create the 28-day lunar cycle, the rhythm of the moon, the tides, and the menstrual cycle. Each day of the week also corresponds to a celestial body, and yes, even to energy centers in the body. Monday, ruled by the moon, connects to emotion and the sacral chakra. Tuesday, Mars, action, power, solar plexus. Wednesday, Mercury, communication, throat chakra. Thursday, Jupiter, generosity, expansion, heart chakra. Friday, Venus, love and sensuality, heart and sacral together. Saturday, Saturn, discipline and structure, the root chakra. And Sunday, ruled by the sun, illumination and spiritual insight, the crown. So even our weekly rhythm mirrors the rise and fall of energy within the human system. The cosmos, our bodies, and our emotions all move in sync, each orbiting within the same musical scale of life. 6. The pH scale, the chemistry of balance. And this harmony doesn't stop at philosophy or spirituality. It shows up in science, too. The pH scale measures acidity and alkalinity from 0 to 14, with 7 as the perfect point of balance. Below 7, things are too acidic, burning, corroding, decaying. Above 7, they become too alkaline, brittle, imbalanced in another way. Life thrives at the middle, at 7. And isn't that the same lesson the chakras, the rainbow, the musical scale, and morality all teach us? That true health, physical, emotional, spiritual, is found in balance. Not too high, not too low, not too much, not too little, but in rhythm with the natural flow. 7. The universal pattern of harmony. So let's bring this all together. The 7 chakras are internal notes of energy. The 7 sins are distortions of that same vibration. The 7 musical tones are the sound's reflection of those frequencies. The 7 days of the week, time's rhythm. The 7 colors, light spectrum. The pH scale, balance and chemistry. And the 28-day cycles, nature's repeating pulse. They're all playing the same song, the song of balance, vibration and evolution. From your heartbeat to the orbit of planets, everything moves in 7s, rising, refining, returning again. You are not separate from this pattern. You are the pattern, a living harmony of color, tone, light, and energy, perfectly designed to evolve toward balance. And when you tune your energy through awareness, love, and alignment, you don't just exist in harmony with the universe. You become the harmony itself. The song, the vibration of life made human. Now let's talk about color, the visible light spectrum. When we look at a rainbow, we're seeing the language of vibration written in light. Each color corresponds to a specific frequency, a specific wavelength. And if we arrange them from the longest to the shortest, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, they form a kind of energetic pyramid. At the base, you have red, the longest wavelength and the lowest frequency. It's dense, grounding, and connected to survival, just like the root chakra. Then comes orange, a little faster, more fluid, creativity and emotion. Yellow rises higher, the energy of action, confidence, the spark of self. Green rests at the center, balance, love, and harmony. It's the heart, the midpoint between the physical and spiritual. Then as we move higher, blue things and refines, communication and expression. Indigo vibrates even faster, perception and insight. And finally, violet, the shortest wavelength and highest frequency, represents spirit, awareness, the divine. So from red to violet, the energy ascends, from the most tangible, earthly vibration to the most subtle and ethereal. It's the same ascension you see in the chakras, the same structure in music, the same flow in human consciousness. If you visualize it, it's like a pyramid of light, wide at the base, narrow at the top. Energy becomes more concentrated, more refined as it rises. The base supports physical existence, the foundation, while the peak represents unity, transcendence, enlightenment. It's the geometry of growth itself, from the root of matter to the crown of spirit. Light, sound, time, and consciousness, all moving through the same gradient of vibration. Let's explore how these systems, chakras, the 7 deadly sins, the musical scale, the days of the week, the lunar cycle, the colors of the rainbow, and even the pH scale, all reflect a shared principle: harmony, vibration, and balance. Sacred geometry, harmony, symmetry, is one of the clearest symbols of balance. Symmetry simply means that a shape stays the same when reflected, rotated, or shifted. It is pleasing to the human eye because it suggests stability, proportion, and equilibrium. Take the circle, perfectly symmetric around it, or the equilateral triangle, 3 equal sides, 3 equal angles, representing stability and equality. The square, equal sides, right angles, reminds us of balance, order, and groundedness. And then there's the ancient builders used it in temples and cathedrals because it naturally evokes beauty and harmony. Now beyond symmetry, there are fractals, infinitely repeating patterns that look similar at every scale. Think of fern leaves, snowflakes, or Romanesco broccoli. Fractals show us balance inside complexity. order woven into what looks chaotic. And when you combine circles, triangles, and polygons into patterns, like the flower of life, you get sacred geometry, forms that suggest the interconnectedness of all things. 2. And extreme ratios, like a rectangle that is overly long and thin, can feel uncomfortable compared to the balance of a square or golden ratio rectangle. In short, or proportions that strain the eye. Mathematical concepts of balance. Mathematics gives us specific ways to measure balance. In geometry, the equilibrium point, like the centroid of a triangle, represents a perfect balance of forces. In statistics, a symmetric bell curve suggests stability, while a skewed distribution shows imbalance. Even in physics, waveforms tell the story. Smooth sine waves symbolize harmony, while jagged or erratic waves represent disruption. Number 4, symbolic associations. So if we chart this out, harmony is represented by circles, squares, triangles, golden ratios, fractals, symbols of unity, proportion, and natural beauty. Disharmony shows up in irregular polygons, extreme proportions, and chaotic patterns, symbols of tension and unpredictability. 5. Symmetry in ritual and magic. Now here's where magical or spiritual practice. Take the circle or the pentagram. Both are symmetric, both widely used in protective magic or spellcasting. They symbolize wholeness and balance. The pentagram, with its 5-fold symmetry, represents the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, in harmony. The hexagram, with its 6-fold symmetry, symbolizes harmony between the microcosm and the macrocosm, the human and the divine. Sacred geometry, in this sense, is more than art. It's a way of structuring energy so it flows without leakage, amplifying ritual power. 6. Sacred geometry across cultures. Cultures around the world recognize this universal blueprint. In Egypt, pyramids were aligned to cosmic proportions. In India and Tibet, yantras and mandalas use repeating geometry to aid meditation. In Christianity, rose windows in cathedrals use circles and symmetry to represent divine perfection. Even Platonic solids, 5 perfectly regular 3D shapes, were tied to the elements: fire, earth, air, water, and ether. And in nature, the same geometry shows up again and again, in snowflakes, seashells, pine cones, planetary orbits, and even the spiral of our DNA. 7. Why sacred geometry works on the human brain. Now, why does this matter for us today? Because the human brain is wired to respond to symmetry and proportion. We are naturally drawn to harmony because it surrounds us in nature: branching trees, spiral galaxies, waves on the shore. Symmetry communicates trust, stability, and timelessness. Repeating patterns and golden ratios grab our attention and feel right, often without us even realizing why. 8. Use in advertising and branding. And this is where things get interesting and a little concerning. Imagine watching your favorite movie. The music swells, the hero steps into the light, and behind them a perfect circle glows, or a mandala-like pattern expands on the screen. You don't stop and say, "Oh look, sacred geometry." But your subconscious notices, and it feels something: trust, harmony, even awe. This isn't an accident. Movies, TV shows, and commercials are packed with subtle geometry and hidden cues designed to influence how you feel, and sometimes even what you buy. Today, I want to show you how sacred geometry and subliminal messaging have become some of the most powerful and invisible tools of influence in modern media. Sacred geometry: why shapes matter. Let's start with sacred geometry. These are shapes and patterns: circles, spirals, triangles, hexagons, the golden ratio, that we find everywhere in nature. They're in seashells, pine cones, snowflakes, galaxies, even in the double helix of DNA. Because they're woven into life itself, our brains are wired to respond to them. Symmetry feels safe, spirals feel alive, the golden ratio feels just right. Ancient cultures recognized this and used these shapes in temples, pyramids, mandalas, and cathedrals to represent harmony and the divine. Fast forward to today, and you'll see the same forms in Hollywood title sequences, luxury brand logos, and even soda commercials. Why? Because those shapes still trigger the same subconscious response. This feels good. This feels trustworthy. This feels important. Subliminal messaging, the hidden layer. Now, combine those shapes with subliminal messaging. Subliminal doesn't always mean flashing a hidden word for one frame of film. More often, it's about things you don't consciously analyze, but your subconscious absorbs. Color choices, sound frequencies, camera framing, background imagery. When sacred geometry is paired with subliminal cues, it becomes a kind of emotional anchor. Your brain starts to link the calm of a circle or the power of a spiral with the product, the character, or the story. You don't think about it, it just feels right. Examples: how it shows up. Think of superhero films. How often do we see a character framed against a glowing circle or standing in front of a perfectly symmetric backdrop? That framing doesn't just look cool, it subconsciously elevates them to the level of gods or destiny. In sci-fi, you'll see spirals, hexagons, and platonic solids embedded in sets and graphics. Even if you don't know what those shapes mean, your brain registers order, intelligence, higher knowledge. Commercials do the same. A water ad might use slow-motion ripples, perfect circles spreading outward, to imply purity. A luxury brand uses golden ratio spacing in its logo and product photography to whisper timeless, superior, prestigious. Wellness brands plaster mandalas and the flower of life on packaging to suggest spirituality or authenticity, even when the product is just overpriced water in a fancy bottle. Why it works. So why is this so powerful? Because humans evolved inside of these shapes. Symmetry and proportion meant survival. Healthy faces, balanced bodies, fertile plants, safe environments. Sacred geometry bypasses logic and speaks directly to our subconscious. Over time, repeated exposure conditions us to trust or desire whatever it's paired with. It's not hypnosis, but it's close to nudging, shaping how we feel before we even know why. The double-edged sword. Here's the thing. Sacred geometry and subliminal messaging are not inherently bad. They can inspire us, remind us of beauty, or connect us to something larger. But they can also be used to manipulate, making us equate sugary drinks with vitality, or luxury goods with self-worth. The same symbol that once guided meditation in a temple might now sell you sneakers. Awareness is power. So the next time you're watching a film, flipping through ads, or walking down the aisle at the store, notice the shapes. Notice the patterns. Ask yourself, why does this feel good? Why am I drawn to this? Because awareness is what breaks the spell. Sacred geometry is everywhere, in nature, in culture, and yes, in marketing. The question is not whether it influences us. It's whether we recognize that influence or let it happen without ever noticing. Number 9, manipulation and exploitation. But there's a darker side. Because sacred geometry resonates subconsciously, it can be exploited. Fast fashion brands use mandalas and spirals to imply sustainability, even when their practices harm the environment. Food companies use geometric purity in logos and packaging to imply wholeness in products that are full of sugar or additives. Luxury brands lean heavily on golden ratio design to signal superiority and prestige, feeding insecurity to drive overspending. In other words, what was once sacred has become a marketing tool, sometimes used ethically, but often in manipulative ways. 10. Ethical use versus manipulation. So the question becomes, how do we use this knowledge? Ethical use means designing with harmony and beauty in ways that uplift, inspire, and inform, without deception. Manipulation means hijacking these ancient subconscious cues to mislead people into trusting or buying something that doesn't live up to the message. Final summary. In summary, mathematics and geometry aren't just abstract. They're living languages of balance and disharmony. Balance and harmony show up as symmetry, proportion, fractals, and smooth curves, patterns that nature and culture both embrace as signs of stability, beauty, and interconnectedness. Imbalance and disharmony show up as asymmetry, chaos, and distortion, symbols of tension, instability, and unease. Sacred geometry reminds us that the universe itself may follow a blueprint of harmony, but it also reminds us to stay aware, because what once symbolized cosmic truth can be used today to manipulate desire. So the real challenge for us is this: can we learn to recognize these patterns, not just as beautiful, but as powerful? Powerful enough to heal, inspire, and connect us when used with integrity, and powerful enough to mislead us when used without it. Sound is not just something we hear, it's something we feel. At its core, sound is vibration moving through matter. And since the human body is made up mostly of water and conductive tissues, we don't just listen to sound, we absorb it. When sound waves hit the eardrum, they set off a chain reaction. Tiny bones vibrate, signals travel through the auditory nerve, and the brain interprets those vibrations as sound. But that's only part of the story. Those same vibrations ripple deeper, into the nervous system, the heart, and even our cells. Science shows that certain frequencies can directly affect biology. Low, harsh sounds can raise cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, tightening muscles and quickening the heart. Soft tones, chanting, or harmonic music can slow the heartbeat, lower blood pressure, and release dopamine and oxytocin, the feel-good chemicals. Even brain waves synchronize with sound. For example, slow rhythms can guide the brain into calmer states like alpha or theta, often linked with relaxation, creativity, and healing. Think about this. A song can bring you to tears in seconds. A single word, spoken harshly, can spike your stress as if you're under attack. That's because sound doesn't just travel through the air, it resonates through you. And energy follows the same principle. Your body itself is an instrument of vibration. Every heartbeat, every neural impulse, every breath carries a frequency. When sound interacts with us, it either harmonizes with our natural rhythms or throws them out of balance. That's why sound has always been used in sacred ways, through chanting, drumming, prayer, and song. It doesn't just touch the ears. It reorganizes the body's energy, restores balance, and shapes emotion. So sound affects us biologically, chemically, and energetically. The vibrations around us are constantly tuning us like strings on an instrument. The key is, what are you letting tune your body, your mind, and your energy field? Tuning forks and bells. Think about a tuning fork or a bell. When you strike it, it vibrates at a very specific frequency. That vibration creates waves, rippling through the air, through water, even through solid matter. Humans are no different. Every cell in our body, our heartbeat, even our DNA, each has its own measurable vibration. We are living instruments of frequency. Now here's where it gets interesting. If you place a vibrating tuning fork next to another one of the same pitch, the second fork begins to vibrate on its own. It wasn't struck, but it resonates. This is called sympathetic vibration, or resonance. And we do the same thing with each other. A calm person can quiet a whole room. A stressed person can spread tension like wildfire. Our energy fields entrain one another, just like tuning forks. And just like a bell amplifies vibration through its shape, we amplify energy through our bodies and actions. Our voices, emotions, and presence don't stay contained. They ripple outward, influencing everything around us. But here's the key. A bell or fork doesn't choose what its vibration is used for. It could announce joy, signal danger, or call for silence. In the same way, our bodies produce energy neutrally, but our intent directs it. A word can heal, or it can wound. A heartbeat rhythm can soothe like a lullaby, or march others to war. And just like the sound of a bell fades unless it's struck again, our own energy weakens without renewal. We need rhythm. We need nourishment, movement, rest, reflection, things that keep our resonance strong. Let's go into the similarities further. 1. Human body and a tuning fork. Resonance. Like a tuning fork that vibrates when struck, your body responds to external vibrations, sound waves, emotional vibes, or even the tone of another person's voice. For example, certain music can entrain brainwaves or heart rate, a process called entrainment. Frequency matching. When two tuning forks of the same frequency are near each other, one can cause the other to vibrate, sympathetic resonance. Similarly, people often sync up biologically. Studies show heartbeats and breathing patterns can align when people sing, pray, or even have close emotional bonds. 2. Human body and a bell. Amplification of energy. A bell turns a small strike into a rich, sustained tone. Likewise, small stimuli, like a kind word or a stressful event, can ring out through the nervous system and endocrine system, amplifying emotions or physiological changes. Material integrity. A cracked bell produces a distorted sound. Similarly, chronic stress or illness can disrupt the body's harmonious tone, affecting mood, immunity, and overall health. 3. Human body and a battery. Stored energy. Like a battery holds electrical charge, your body stores bioelectric energy in cells, especially across cell membranes. the sodium-potassium pump in neurons functions like a miniature rechargeable battery. Polarity. Batteries have positive and negative terminals. The human body maintains positive and negative ion gradients across cell membranes. This polarity powers nerve impulses, muscle contractions, and even the beating of your heart. Recharge. Just as a battery must be recharged, your body restores its energy through sleep, nutrition, and rest. Depletion leads to fatigue and reduced function. 4. Human body in an ancient church. Architecture for resonance. Ancient churches and cathedrals were often built with precise acoustics to amplify sound and create reverberation, designed to evoke awe and spiritual connection. Likewise, your body is a resonant chamber, where lungs, chest cavity, and sinuses amplify your voice and breath. Symbol of sacred space. Just as churches were considered sacred spaces for spirit and community, many traditions view the human body as a temple for consciousness or soul. Energy flow and design. Gothic cathedrals use sacred geometry and alignment with celestial events to channel light and sound. The body, too, follows geometry, spirals in DNA, the Fibonacci-like branching of veins and nerves, and the rhythmic architecture of heartbeat and breath. Shared themes across all four: vibration and resonance. Whether it's a tuning fork, bell, or cathedral walls, vibration is key. The body also resonates through sound, emotion, and electromagnetic signals. Energy storage and transfer. Like a battery or a ringing bell, your body stores and transfers energy through chemical bonds, electrical signals, and kinetic movement. Design for harmony. Ancient churches were built for balance and beauty, much like the body's natural geometries, spirals, symmetry, proportionality that support stability and function. Sensitivity to disturbance. A crack in a bell, a drained battery, or poor acoustics disrupt harmony. In humans, emotional stress, illness, or toxic environments disturb biological and energetic balance. So in essence, humans are living tuning forks. We vibrate, we resonate with others, we amplify energy, and we shape that energy with intent. The real question isn't whether you're vibrating, you are. The question is, what frequency are you sending into the world, and how will it resonate? Music holds a hidden power, one that can shape our minds, our bodies, our thoughts, and even our society. When music departs from the natural harmonics rooted in sacred numbers and the Fibonacci sequence of nature, it may do more than simply sound different. It can subtly disrupt, even poison, the collective psyche of humanity. Let's start at the beginning. The frequency of 440 Hz represents the A above middle C, and today serves as the universal tuning standard for musical pitch. A hertz simply means one vibration per second, so 440 Hz equals 440 vibrations per second. Until the 19th century, there was no coordinated effort to standardize pitch. Frequencies varied widely, not only between countries, but even from city to city. In the 1500s, A could be anywhere between 400 and 500 Hz. During Bach's era, it was commonly tuned to 415 Hz. To this day, many musicians performing Baroque music use 415, which is a semitone lower than our current standard. In the classical period, the pitch crept higher, often to around 430 Hz, very close to 432. Much of Mozart's music, for example, is performed in 432 Hz today. Mozart, notably, was a Freemason. Draw your own conclusions. As the world became more mobile and technology advanced, the need for a universal pitch grew stronger. In 1859, the French government passed a law setting A at 435 Hz, the first large-scale attempt at standardization. By the early 1900s, Britain proposed 439 Hz. Then, in the 1930s, the broadcasting industry began pushing for total standardization at 440 Hz across Europe and North America. This goal was achieved in 1939 at an international conference in London, which recommended 440 Hz as the official concert pitch. While researching this, I found two dominant schools of thought: the pro-432 movement and the anti-440 movement. Advocates of 432 Hz believe it is more harmonious with the universe. At 432, the C note aligns closely with 256 Hz, the same frequency often used to heal the root chakra, the body's foundational energy center associated with fear, anxiety, and insecurity. Supporters also claim 432 Hz resonates with the golden mean, unifying the properties of light, time, space, matter, gravity, magnetism, biology, DNA, and consciousness itself. Studies suggest 432 Hz music therapy can reduce anxiety, lower heart rate and blood pressure, and produce a generally soothing effect. It's also said to positively influence the third eye chakra and even promote DNA repair. The opposing narrative is darker and veiled in conspiracy. Joseph Goebbels, yes, that Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi minister of propaganda, is said to have promoted 440 Hz in 1939 to detune people, cloud their intuition, and create confusion. Some allege that certain powerful organizations funded this shift to standardize 440 for manipulative purposes. Whether or not this is true, consider this. A master propagandist knows that to control a population, you must first disrupt order, sow confusion, and ultimately generate fear. Why would someone like that, and his backers, push to alter music's tuning standard to its highest recorded frequency? To this day, the global standard for A remains 440 Hz, unchanged since 1936. Now I invite you to listen and decide for yourself. We'll play two versions of the same classical piece, one tuned to 432 Hz and one to 440. When I did this experiment, the 440 version left me slightly uneasy. The high notes made me wince, the low notes felt disjointed. By contrast, the 432 version felt dreamlike, euphoric, calm and relaxing without making me tired. Let's try it. words. We use them every day without thinking. But stop for a second and really consider this. Every time you speak, you are shaping reality. Because words don't just describe our world, they define it. They direct energy, they cast influence. And that's why, and this isn't coincidence, when we write a word, we call it spelling. Think about that. To spell is to cast a spell. Language is our oldest magic. When you speak, you're literally vibrating the air, sending invisible waves that hit people's ears, hearts, and minds. Those vibrations can heal or they can harm. Ever notice how a single sentence can make someone's whole day or ruin it? That's the power of language. Words are frequencies. Frequencies are energy, and energy creates emotion. Emotion drives behavior. Behavior shapes reality. So yes, the tongue is powerful. The ancients knew this. That's why in so many traditions, creation itself begins with sound. In the beginning was the word, or God said, "Let there be light." Speech, vibration, is what brings matter into motion. Now let's go deeper. Why do we call writing a word spelling? Because early societies saw language as sacred. To spell meant to arrange symbols with intention. Just like a magician arranges symbols to manifest something. Every word carries frequency. Every syllable, every sound, it's not random. It's encoded meaning. So when we spell something, we're literally casting meaning into the air. That's why it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Tone, rhythm, intention, all of that changes the energy behind your words. Say "I love you" gently, it soothes. Say it coldly, it stings. Same words, different frequency. That's the difference between communication and creation. Now, let's talk about some words themselves, the ones hiding meanings in plain sight. Take the word entrapment. It sounds like what it means, to be trapped. But look closer. En means to put into, and trap means, well, a trap. To entrap literally means to put someone into a trap with words or actions. And often we do this linguistically. We use phrases that limit people. You'll never change. That's just who you are. We trap them in definitions. That's the danger of careless speech. It cages potential. Next, entertain. This one's fascinating. The Latin root enter means among or between, and tenere means to hold. So to entertain literally means to hold your attention between something. In other words, to occupy your mind. Now think about modern entertainment. Movies, social media, commercials. They don't just hold your attention, they capture it. They direct it. That's why it's called television programming. They're not just showing programs, they're programming through visuals and sound. That's not conspiracy, that's etymology. Now look at introduce, from Latin intro, meaning into, and ducere, meaning to lead. To introduce means to lead into. When you introduce an idea, you are leading someone into a new mental space. That's power. That's influence. That's why first impressions matter. You're not just saying words, you're guiding consciousness. Many of our most common words carry this same magic. Education, from educare, meaning to draw out, not to fill up. True teaching is about awakening what's already within. Government, from gubernar, to control, and men's mind, literally control of the mind. Universe, uni, one and verse spoken sentence. The universe is one spoken line. Curse, from the Old French curus, meaning a run of words. A curse is simply a negative spell, words spoken with destructive intent. When you see language this way, you realize every word is a spell, every conversation is a ritual, and your vocabulary is your wand. Latin, Greek, and the architecture of language. Most modern languages, English especially, are built on Latin and Greek roots. Why does that matter? Because both of those systems were designed around precision and pattern. In Greek, the same root word can birth dozens of meanings, all interlinked, showing how ideas evolve. In Latin, prefixes and suffixes stack meaning, like equations of consciousness. That's why when you understand the roots, you understand the intent. You see what's being said behind what's being said. For example, emotion comes from ex movere, to move out. Emotion is literally energy moving outward. Inspire comes from inspire, to breathe into. To inspire is to breathe life into someone. The ancients weren't just naming things, they were describing energetic processes. They say Latin is a dead language. But if that's true, why is it still everywhere? It's carved into government buildings. It's printed on the dollar bill. It's spoken in courtrooms, whispered in Catholic rituals, and hiding in almost every English word we use today. So the real question isn't, why did Latin die? It's, did it ever really die at all? Or did it just rebrand? Part 1, the myth of the dead language. When people say Latin is dead, what they mean is that nobody speaks it as a native language anymore. There are no babies being raised speaking pure classical Latin at home. But dead is a misleading word, because Latin never disappeared, it simply evolved. When the Roman Empire fell, its people didn't suddenly stop talking. Their speech morphed over time into what we now call the Romance languages: Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and Romanian. Each one is still Latin at its core, just adapted, simplified, and reshaped by the centuries. So if you speak Spanish or Italian, you're basically speaking modernized Latin, whether you realize it or not. Part 2, Latin's living ghost. But Latin didn't just evolve out there in the streets. It also survived in the institutions that Rome built: law, religion, government, and scholarship. When the Roman Empire collapsed politically, its cultural machinery didn't vanish. It shifted. The Roman Catholic Church became the new spiritual empire, and it kept Latin as its sacred tongue. That's why even today, exorcisms are performed in Latin. It's believed that the language carries authority, that ancient words spoken in the old tongue still hold spiritual power. In many ways, Latin became the Church's magical language, a linguistic link to divine authority. In law, the same thing happened. Roman law became the foundation for Western legal systems, and the Latin terminology remained. Think about it. Habeas corpus, pro bono, subpoena, de facto ad hoc, per se. All Latin. We still use those words because the concepts they describe were first written in Latin. Even medicine, science, and academia use Latin for naming and classification. Doctor means teacher or learned one, from docere, to teach. Professor is from profitare, to declare publicly, one who professes knowledge. Lecturer is from lectura, a reading, originally one who read texts aloud to students. Alma mater means nourishing mother, the institution nourishing their children with knowledge. Universitas means the whole. Summa cum laude means with highest praise. Magna cum laude with great praise. Why? Because Latin doesn't change anymore. It's fixed. In a world where living languages evolve, Latin became a universal constant, a neutral code that scholars across nations could share. So Latin didn't die, it just stopped growing and started governing. Part 3, Latin in currency and power. Now look at our money. The US dollar says e pluribus unum, out of many one. Annuit cuptis, he favors our undertakings. Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the ages. That's all Latin. The founding fathers used it deliberately. They were invoking Rome, the architecture, the law, the authority, the empire. In a sense, America didn't just model itself after Rome, it branded itself as the new Rome. And Latin became the badge of legitimacy, the language of order and empire. Part 4, did the Roman Empire fall or rebrand? Here's the bigger picture. Did the Roman Empire really fall, or did it simply rebrand itself through institutions? Think about it. Rome ruled through roads, armies, and laws. When those collapsed, the church stepped in and ruled through faith, scripture, and ritual, still centered in Rome. Later, European monarchies and colonial empires rose, using Roman law, Latin language, and Roman symbols of power. Even our architecture, the domes, the columns, the eagles, are Roman. The word Senate is Roman. The calendar you use, the alphabet you write with, the names of your planets, all Roman. So maybe the empire didn't vanish. Maybe it just changed uniforms. From soldiers to scholars, from legions to legislation, from temples to cathedrals, but the structure remained. The empire stopped expanding with swords and started expanding with systems. Part 5, why it matters. So why does any of this matter? Because understanding Latin isn't just about old grammar, it's about recognizing continuity. It shows us how power sustains itself, not by shouting, but by embedding itself in language, law, and ritual. When you hear Latin in a courtroom or on a dollar bill, you're not just hearing old words, you're hearing the echo of empire, still humming beneath the surface of modern civilization. So no, Latin didn't die, it became immortal. Because every time you sign a contract, watch a legal drama, go to mass, or spend $1, you're speaking Rome's language. The empire didn't fall, it learned to whisper. Now, why does all this matter? because we live in a world drowning in words. Social media posts, news headlines, clickbait, marketing slogans. Language has never been louder, but meaning has never been thinner. If you don't understand the power of words, you become controlled by them. If you do understand, you reclaim that power. You start speaking intentionally. You start listening differently. You stop being entertained, held in someone else's story, and you start creating your own. So the next time you speak, pause. Ask yourself, am I creating or destroying? Am I liberating or entrapping? Am I casting light or shadow? Because every word is a seed, every sentence is a spell, and every voice, including yours, has the power to build worlds or burn them down. The power of creation isn't somewhere out there. It's in your mouth, it's in your words, and it always has been.
This next series of photographs are the work of Japanese researcher Mr. Masaru Emoto from his book, The Message from Water. Mr. Emoto's work provides factual evidence that human vibrational energy, thoughts, words, ideas, and music affect the molecular structure of water. Please remember that water comprises over 70% of a mature human body and covers the same amount on our planet. Water is the very source of all life. This photo shows the beautifully formed geometric design of the Yushi Spring water. This next photo is from the Shimanto River, the last clean spring in Japan. Notice the extraordinary geometric forms. The fact that the molecular structure of water can be affected by our consciousness, our intent, and our sounds is extremely important. This photo is from the Mount Cook Glacier in New Zealand. Mr. Emoto has been visually documenting these molecular changes in water by means of his photographic techniques. He freezes droplets of water, then examines them under a dark field microscope that has photographic capabilities. His work clearly demonstrates the diversity of the molecular structure of water and the effects of the environment upon the structure of the water. This photo is from the fountain in Lourdes, France. This photo is from contaminated water from the Yodo River in Japan. In this photo, we can compare the contaminated water with clean stream water. Look at the difference. Mr. Emoto decided to see what effects music would have upon the structure of water. He placed distilled water between two speakers for several hours while playing different music and then photographing the crystals that formed after the water was frozen. This photo is of water being exposed to Beethoven's Pastorale. This photo is the effect of Bach's Air for the G-string on the water. This photo is water exposed to Chopin's Farewell Song. This next photo is water being exposed and affected to music that was designed for healing. This photo is of water being exposed to the Kawachi folk dance. This photo shows the effect of heavy metal music upon the water. Here now we can compare the effects of healing versus heavy metal music, and what happens to the water molecules. Mr. Emoto decided to see how thoughts and words affected the formation of untreated distilled water crystals by typing words onto paper and then taping this paper onto glass bottles overnight. This photo shows the effects of the words, "Thank you." This next photo shows the effects of the words, "Love and appreciation." This photo shows the effects of the words, "You make me sick, I will kill you." And here we can compare the effects of "thank you" with the "you make me sick, I will kill you." Very, very different geometric forms being incurred through the intention. Now this photo is of a very polluted and toxic water from the Fujiwara Dam. Here now is the same water from the Fujiwara Dam after a Buddhist monk had offered a prayer over it. Prayer, that sound coupled with intention, seems to have an extraordinary ability of restoring water to its natural, harmonious, geometric symmetry. And in this photo we can compare the toxic water and then the effects of praying over the water.
Dr. Emoto has conducted another interesting experiment. He placed rice into 3 glass beakers and covered it with water. And then every day for a month, he said, "Thank you" to one beaker, "You're an idiot" to the second, and the third one he completely ignored. After 1 month, the rice that had been thanked began to ferment, giving off a strong, pleasant aroma. The rice in the second beaker turned black, and the rice that was ignored began to rot. Dr. Emoto thinks that this experiment provides an important lesson, especially with regard to how we treat children. We should take care of them, give them attention, and converse with them. Indifference does the greatest harm.
Tell some dreamy story, but almost.
Light, faith in the human story. Like I said in our intro, let me make this crystal clear. We respect all religions here, every single one. This is not about questioning your belief system. What we don't respect, though, is domination. When one belief system tries to crush another, damning someone simply because they see God differently, that's disgusting. And history proves it. No wars in human history have taken more lives than religious wars. Entire peoples exterminated, not for what they did, but for what they believed. So I say all that to say this. This talk, this space, we're here for healing. Healing of the mind, healing of the soul. And to heal, we have to shine light on the things that may be quietly interfering with your growth. And many of those influences, they come from society itself, from culture, from religion, from the stories we've inherited. We're not asking you to throw them out. No. What I am asking is this. Put on your Sherlock Holmes hat. Use the art of deduction. Peel away the fluff, strip back the layers, and find your truth, whatever that truth may be. Religion and the human form. Now that we've cleared the air, let's go deeper. I want to talk about the parallels between religion and the human body. Since I grew up Christian, I'll use Christianity as an example. And here's the fascinating thing. When you look closely, Scripture and the human body mirror one another. Adam and Eve, they reflect complementary forces, like the splitting of a cell or the balance of masculine and feminine energy. The Garden of Eden, a symbol of the womb, a protected, nourishing space before birth. Jesus' 33 years of life, a parallel to the 33 vertebrae in the spine, symbolizing a spiritual ascent through the human form. What this suggests is powerful. The human body itself may be a living scripture, a testament to divine design and cosmic order. Cosmos and the cell, parallels of creation. Let me take you further, out to the edges of the universe, and then all the way back to the spark of life under a microscope. In 2019, scientists unveiled the very first photograph of a black hole. What did we see? A ring of glowing light circling a perfect darkness, the event horizon, the threshold of no return. Now, put that image beside a microscopic photo of a human egg cell. What do you notice? A glowing ring, a dark center, a threshold. On the largest scale, the cosmos, and on the small, the cell, the pattern is identical. And that's not coincidence. That's creation whispering to us. A black hole, once thought to be the ultimate end, is now seen as a beginning. The immense energy around it helps seed new galaxies, destruction feeding creation. Now compare that to the human woman's egg. Before fertilization, it's pure potential. And when sperm meets egg, something extraordinary happens. The gateway to human life itself opens. Both the black hole and the egg are thresholds, moments where energy transforms into something entirely new. The spark of fertilization. And here's the part that still blows my mind. Scientists have discovered that the very moment of fertilization, the egg gives off a literal flash of light. Billions of zinc atoms release all at once, sending out microscopic sparks, like a tiny supernova, a burst of stars. Think about that. The very first instant of human life begins with light exploding out of darkness. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? In the beginning, the earth was formless and void, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. From scripture to science, the pattern repeats. Life begins with light. Patterns of creation. So what does all this mean? It means that creation, whether cosmic, biological, or spiritual, follows the same archetype: darkness holding potential, light bursting forth, a threshold moment where nothing becomes something. At the cosmic scale, black holes may birth galaxies. At the biological scale, the egg ignites life. At the spiritual scale, creation itself begins with light. These aren't just metaphors, they are patterns, echoes of the same story, told again and again across existence. Symbolic parallels, Bible and body. Let's come back to the body. Adam and Eve and birth. Adam and Eve can be seen as masculine and feminine energies like the first cell dividing. The garden, a womb. The expulsion, birth itself. Jesus' 33 years, 33 vertebrae in the spine. The path of spiritual ascent. The rise of consciousness mirrored in anatomy. The word in DNA. The word became flesh. Words are code. DNA is code. ATGC, the 4 letters that build life itself. The body is temple. Scripture calls the body the temple of the spirit. And temples, like the human body, are built with chambers, flows, sacred geometry. The breath of life, God breathing into Adam. Spirit, breath, ruach. Breath and spirit are the same word in Hebrew. Your breath is your life force. The Bible and biology are telling the same story in different languages. Now let's go into this with much more detail and depth. Adam and Eve and the womb/birth imagery. In some mystical or metaphorical interpretations, Adam and Eve can represent the union of masculine and feminine forces within a single source, similar to a child in the womb beginning as a single fertilized cell that splits into complementary forms. The Garden of Eden is sometimes likened to the womb, a protected, nourishing space where life begins. The fall or expulsion mirrors birth. The child leaves a safe environment to face the challenges of the outside world. Jesus' life stages and human development. The Bible does not detail Jesus' childhood beyond infancy, then presents him suddenly at age 33, the traditional number of human vertebrae. Some symbolic traditions compare this to a sperm cell's transformation, beginning invisibly small with no vertebrates, then appearing as a complete being with a spine that has what? 33 vertebrates, paralleling how Jesus' public ministry begins fully formed. Esoteric Christian symbolism sometimes links Jesus' 33 years to spiritual ascent through the spine's vertebrae, suggesting that enlightenment or divine connection travels upward through human structure. The Word made flesh and DNA creation. The Word became flesh, John 1 verse 14, is compared to DNA, a code written in letters, A, T, G, C, paralleling how words carry meaning. Just as Scripture transmits spiritual truth, DNA carries biological instructions for life. The body as the temple. Paul calls the human body the temple of the Holy Spirit, 1 Corinthians 6:19. Similarly, biblical temples and tabernacles were designed with sacred geometry, chambers, and flows of movement, mirroring the body's organs, systems, and energy pathways. Think of the human body today. If I asked someone to stand still with their arms at their sides, their feet would be spaced wider than their shoulders for balance and a good foundation. And the head would serve as a peak, just like temples, castles, houses, and many structures around the world. Breath of life and spirit. Adam receives life when God breathes into his nostrils, Genesis 2:7. Breath, spirit, and ruach, Hebrew for spirit or wind, are linguistically and symbolically connected, linking respiration to divine life force. Culture and worldviews, indigenous versus modern. Now let's zoom out again. Beyond scripture, beyond science. Let's look at culture. Throughout history, societies have organized themselves very differently. Indigenous communities emphasized communal life, interdependence, harmony with nature. It was always we before me. Modern society, in contrast, often emphasizes the individual. Achievement, competition, human dominance over nature. It's me before we. Neither is perfect, but comparing them shows us something. Our worldview, whether communal or individualistic, shapes not only our societies, but how we understand spirituality, the body, even the earth itself. Demonizing earth worship. And here's something uncomfortable. Many traditions that honored the earth as sacred were later demonized. Why? Power. Monotheistic expansion labeled earth-centered practices animism, goddess worship, as idolatry. Colonizers used it to erase indigenous traditions. Patriarchal systems recast fertility goddesses as temptresses or demons. And the witch hunts, they weren't really about witches. They were about silencing women healers, midwives, herbalists, medicine women, people whose knowledge threatened centralized control. The witch stereotype we still see today? That's propaganda, a cover-up. Behind it stood the healer, the protector of tradition, the bridge between people and the natural world. And here's the hypocrisy. The same herbs once called witchcraft are now pharmaceuticals. The same midwifery practices once condemned are now modern obstetrics. The same meditation and breath work once condemned as superstition are now stress management techniques in hospitals. It was never about safety. It was about control. Men, women, and balance. And finally, let's talk about us, men and women. In indigenous life, men's roles weren't about dominance. They were about service, providing, protecting, passing knowledge. Leadership meant responsibility, not control. Women's roles were equally vital: caretakers, healers, spiritual leaders, decision makers. Fertility was celebrated, sexuality integrated, wisdom honored. Compare that to modern stereotypes: men reduced to providers, stoic alpha males, or demonized as toxic. Women forced into contradictions: be beautiful but modest, ambitious but not threatening, nurturing but also independent. Where indigenous societies saw balance, modern culture often imposes impossible expectations and then shames us for failing them. Coming full circle. So what do we do with all of this? We look deeper. We question the narratives that shaped us. We strip back the fluff. We connect the dots between scripture and science, between cosmos and cell, between body and spirit, between indigenous wisdom and modern life. Because the patterns are there. Creation always begins the same way. Darkness, a spark of light, a threshold, and something new is born. And maybe, just maybe, the lesson is this: the body, the earth, the universe, they're not separate stories, they're one story. and it's our job to see it clearly, honor it deeply, and live it truthfully. The divine design within us. When you really think about it, the human body is miraculous. Every breath, every heartbeat, every movement, it's a symphony of balance and design. Together, these systems form something far greater than the sum of their parts. And when we step back and look at the big picture, the way our cells mirror the structure of galaxies, or how our DNA spirals like the shape of nebula, it's hard not to feel like the body itself is a living testament to divine design and cosmic order. So the question becomes, if we are reflections of something divine, shouldn't we treat ourselves that way? Seeing ourselves and each other through a healing lens. How we see ourselves and how we see each other plays a massive role in healing, because the mind doesn't heal in isolation. It heals through perception, through connection. And one of the biggest forces shaping that perception is culture. Culture influences what we eat, how we dress, what we value, even how we love. It tells us what's right, what's wrong, and perhaps most powerfully, what's possible. It's the lens through which we see reality. And through that same lens, we inherit our ideas of religion, of faith, of meaning. Because even your religion, what you believe, how you pray, who you pray to, can often be determined not by your soul, but by the culture you were born into, raised in, or currently living within. Defining belief and its power. Let's look at the word itself, religion. By definition, it's the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially from a god or gods. And the word religious? It's a pursuit or interest to which someone assigns supreme importance. Now, two key words stand out in those definitions: belief and assigns. The belief in and worship of, to which someone assigns supreme importance. Do you hear it? Do you feel the subtle power in those phrases? Belief and assignment. That means religion. And really, much of human meaning is not fixed. It's chosen. It's built from what we decide to believe and what we decide to give importance to. The power and vulnerability of the human mind. Now, let those definitions really sink in. Because when you understand that belief and importance are choices, mental constructs, you begin to see just how easily the mind, body, and soul can be influenced, redirected, or even manipulated. We are, at our core, meaning-making beings. We assign significance to symbols, to words, to traditions. We build worlds around what we choose to believe. And that's powerful, but it's also dangerous. Because if we're not conscious, those beliefs can be planted for us. By culture, by systems, by fear. If we forget to question what we believe, or why we believe it, we risk living by someone else's definition of truth. Reclaiming the sacred within. So what if, just for a moment, we reclaim that power? What if we began to see belief not as a chain, but as a creative force? Imagine if every person treated their body, their mind, their energy as sacred, as part of a living divine architecture. Imagine a world where we didn't just practice religion, but embodied spirituality, where belief wasn't handed to us, but chosen from a place of love, curiosity, and awareness. Because once we understand that the divine design isn't somewhere out there, but in here, in our breath, in our blood, in our consciousness, then the way we treat ourselves and each other begins to shift. And that shift, that awareness, that's where healing begins. So yes, together, these ideas remind us, the body is sacred, the mind is powerful, the soul is free. But only when we remember that belief isn't something we're given, it's something we choose. So choose consciously, choose kindly, choose with awareness. Because what you believe becomes what you are. Reflections of the divine, the hidden order, connecting heaven, earth, and the human soul. From the dawn of human thought, people have looked to the stars and seen themselves reflected there. The phrase, "as above, so below," captures one of humanity's oldest intuitions, that the patterns of the heavens echo within our own lives, and that the same intelligence shaping galaxies also shapes the human soul. Across religions, philosophies, and sciences, this idea reminds us that the universe is not divided into separate realms of spirit and matter, but woven together by a single design. From Hermetic wisdom to sacred geometry, from the orbits of planets to the rhythm of our breath, "as above, so below" speaks to the profound unity that connects all levels of existence, the cosmic, the earthly, and the human. As above, so below expresses a universal law. The patterns of the cosmos are mirrored in the human and material world. In religion, it links heaven and earth. In sacred geometry, it's seen in repeating patterns like the flower of life and platonic solids. Across traditions, from Hermeticism to Christianity, Kabbalah, Hinduism, and astrology, it affirms that the divine, natural, and human realms are interconnected reflections of one another. Hermetic and religious origins. Hermeticism, Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. The phrase originates here, meaning the macrocosm, universe, and microcosm, human, mirror each other. The divine and material worlds are connected. What happens in the heavens reflects on earth. Christian mysticism. Echoes appear in the Lord's Prayer. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It implies alignment between divine order and human action. Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. The tree of life bridges higher spiritual realms, Keter, wisdom, and lower material realms, Malkuth, earth, reinforcing the flow between heaven and earth. Hinduism, the concept of Brahman, cosmic spirit, and Atman, individual soul, expresses a similar truth. The universal and the personal are one. Sacred geometry context. Microcosm and macrocosm, shapes like the flower of life or Metatron's cube, show repeating patterns from the smallest atom to galaxies, symbolizing that cosmic order above is replicated in every cell below. Platonic solids. These perfect shapes are said to structure both the building blocks of matter and the heavens, uniting spirit and matter. Fractals and self-similarity. Modern mathematics shows that patterns repeat infinitely at different scales, mirroring Hermetic principles in nature and design. Carrying the heavens within ourselves. Demonizing earth worship, how reverence became rebellion. Throughout history, humanity has always sought to understand the forces that sustain life. For many ancient and indigenous peoples, that reverence centered on the earth itself, the soil that feeds us, the rivers that nourish us, the sun that gives us light. They saw the planet not as a possession, but as a living being, a mother, a teacher, a sacred partner. But over time, something changed. That deep sense of connection, that sacred reciprocity, began to be labeled as evil, primitive, even dangerous, and so began what I call the demonization of earth worship, the process of turning reverence for nature into a sin. Today, I want to explore how that happened and what it says about power, control, and our relationship with the world that gives us life. Part 1. Religious competition and control. As monotheistic faiths like Christianity and Islam expanded across the world, they encountered local traditions that honored nature, practices like animism, ancestor veneration, and goddess worship. And rather than coexisting with these beliefs, many religious authorities labeled them as idolatry or devil worship. This wasn't just theology, it was strategy. By casting earth-centered spirituality as pagan or demonic, churches could delegitimize older traditions and redirect devotion toward a single, sanctioned God. It reinforced hierarchy. It drew a clear line between holy and heathen, and in doing so, it centralized authority, not just spiritual authority, but social and political power as well. Because when you convince people that only your God and your church holds the key to salvation, you gain control over their souls and their societies. Colonialism and cultural erasure. Centuries later, this same pattern repeated through colonization. When European powers spread across Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Oceania, they carried not just guns and flags, but a worldview. a worldview that saw indigenous earth-honoring traditions as obstacles to civilization. Reverence for sacred mountains, rivers, or ancestral spirits wasn't just dismissed, it was condemned. Missionaries called it witchcraft, governments called it primitive, and in that language of demonization, conquest found justification. If indigenous spirituality was evil, then erasing it became an act of salvation. If the land was wild, then taming it became divine duty. Labeling earth-centered wisdom as savagery made it easier to extract, exploit, and erase both the people and the planet. 3. Patriarchal shifts. The fall of the feminine divine. Many ancient earth-based traditions were deeply feminine. They honored goddesses of fertility, cycles, and creation, embodiments of life itself. But as patriarchal religions took hold, those feminine symbols were recast. The nurturing Earth Mother became the tempting seductress. Nature itself became associated with sin, unpredictable, dangerous, something to be subdued. Think of the biblical story of Eve, a tale that, intentionally or not, framed woman, nature, and knowledge as sources of temptation and downfall. That narrative didn't just shape theology, it shaped gender roles, power structures, and how humanity viewed its relationship to the earth. The feminine principle, creation, emotion, intuition, the natural world, became something to fear, not to honor. Fear of decentralized power. There's another reason earth worship was demonized. It's hard to control. When people find the sacred in the soil beneath their feet, they don't need temples or intermediaries. They don't need a hierarchy to speak to the divine because they can feel it directly in the wind, in the water, in the trees. That kind of spirituality is profoundly liberating. And for institutions that depend on obedience and structure, liberation can look a lot like rebellion. Earth worship empowers communities. It decentralizes power. And throughout history, anything that empowers the people tends to unsettle the powerful. Modern echoes. Now you might think this is all ancient history, but the echoes are still with us. Today, environmentalism, the effort to protect the planet, is sometimes dismissed as radical, anti-faith, or even heretical. Spiritual movements that honor nature are often ridiculed as New Age or unscientific. And yet, at their core, these movements carry the same message our ancestors once lived by, that the earth is not a backdrop for human drama. It is the very stage of life itself. We have simply forgotten how to listen. The common thread. When you look at all of this, religion, colonization, patriarchy, politics, a clear pattern emerges. The demonization of earth worship was never truly about the earth. It was about control. Control over belief, over land, over people, and over the stories we tell about what is sacred. Because if you can convince humanity that the earth is lifeless, you can justify taking from it. If you can convince them that nature is unholy, you can silence the ones who defend it. But when we reclaim the sacredness of the earth, when we begin to see the divine in the soil, the sea, and the sky, we don't just heal our planet, we heal our story. And maybe, just maybe, we remember that the greatest act of worship is care. We Before Me, the forgotten blueprint of human connection. Throughout human history, societies have organized themselves in profoundly different ways, shaping not only how people live, but how they relate to each other and the world around them. Indigenous communities traditionally emphasized communal living, interdependence, and harmony with nature, placing the well-being of the group above individual ambition. Modern society, on the other hand, tends to center on individualism, personal achievement, and human dominion over the environment. And these two worldviews, one communal, one competitive, don't just define how we live. They reveal what we truly value. One, the indigenous way of life, a web, not a ladder, across the world, from Africa to the Americas, from Australia to Oceania. Indigenous societies were built on the idea of connection. Every person belonged to something greater than themselves, the family, the clan, the tribe. The individual was inseparable from the community. Success wasn't measured by how far you rose above others, but by how much you gave back to those around you. Property, food, and land weren't things to own, they were things to share. Reciprocity was the glue that held everything together. When you gave, you strengthened the bond. When you received, you carried a responsibility to give in return. Elders, not textbooks, were the libraries of wisdom. Their knowledge wasn't written in ink, it was spoken, sung, and danced. Each story carried lessons, moral, spiritual, ecological, passed down not for personal glory, but for the survival and harmony of the whole. And perhaps most importantly, indigenous people understood something modern society often forgets. We are not separate from nature. We are part of it. Decisions were made not for the next quarter, but for the next 7 generations. The earth wasn't a resource, it was a relative. Even conflict was handled differently. Disputes weren't about winners or losers, they were about restoring balance. Through mediation, dialogue, and consensus, the goal wasn't punishment, it was peace. To the modern way, the age of me. Now contrast that with modern society. Here we celebrate the individual. We tell people to stand out, be unique, chase your dreams. And while there's beauty in that, there's also a cost. Our systems of education, government, and economy all revolve around personal achievement and private ownership. Knowledge is institutionalized, authority is formalized. We measure success by titles, degrees, and income, rarely by contribution, empathy, or wisdom. Nature becomes something to manage or exploit, not something to live in harmony with. We build walls, not circles. We own the land, but forget to listen to it. Conflict resolution has also changed. Instead of sitting in a circle to talk, we go to court to fight. Instead of healing the relationship, we enforce the rule. Social cohesion no longer comes from kinship, it comes from laws and contracts. And in that shift, we've gained efficiency, but we've lost intimacy. The lesson hidden in plain sight. This isn't about romanticizing the past or demonizing the present. It's about remembering balance. Modern society excels at innovation, technology, and individual rights, but it often forgets connection, reciprocity, and reverence for life. Indigenous societies understood that harmony isn't found in isolation. It's found in relationships. Maybe that's the lesson we're being called to remember. Because the truth is, we were never meant to live as isolated competitors. We were meant to live as interconnected participants in a world that thrives when we do too. So as we move forward, maybe the real progress isn't just about going faster or higher. Maybe it's about remembering how to go together. When you look at it this way, Indigenous life says, we before me. Modern life says, me before we. And that difference, though subtle in language, is monumental in consequence. The sacred science of bare feet. You know, one of the most misunderstood symbols of Indigenous life is the image of the barefoot person. For centuries, outsiders looked at Aboriginal peoples and Indigenous communities all over the world and thought, they don't have shoes, they must be poor, primitive, behind. But what those outsiders missed was that going barefoot wasn't a sign of lack. It was a sign of connection. For Aboriginal peoples, being barefoot on the earth wasn't about survival. It was about spirit, energy, and relationship. It was a practice that held deep cultural, spiritual, and even physiological meaning, a way of staying in balance with the world around you. Let's break that down. Spiritual connection to country. In Aboriginal culture, country isn't just land. It's not a piece of property or a map with borders. The country is alive. It's conscious. It holds the stories of creation, the spirits of ancestors, and the essence of life itself. So when someone walked barefoot on country, they weren't just moving through land, they were touching the living spirit of their ancestors. Every step was a prayer, every footprint a conversation with the earth. The soles of the feet were considered sacred, a direct point of contact where wisdom, energy, and balance flowed between human and soil. To walk barefoot was to remember that you don't stand on the earth, you stand with her. Energetic and vibrational connection. Many Indigenous traditions understood something science is only beginning to confirm, that the earth emits a subtle but powerful vibrational energy. Walking barefoot allowed that energy to flow freely, aligning body, mind, and spirit. Today, modern research calls this grounding or earthing. And here's the amazing part. Studies show that when your skin makes direct contact with the earth, free electrons pass into your body. Those electrons neutralize free radicals, reduce inflammation, lower stress, and even improve blood flow.
I want to show you something interesting. Look, I have a simple voltmeter here. One is in the ground, the minus, and the plus I have here. And now I'm wearing shoes, sort of. Yeah? I'm not connected with the ground. I touch the red pin. What does it say? 1 or sometimes 0. And look, when I touch my feet, with my feet the ground, what happens? Up. And up. Think about it. When you wear shoes. That's why I don't do it anymore. Cheers.
In other words, what indigenous peoples practiced for thousands of years, as ceremony, as communion, also happens to be biologically beneficial. Their spirituality was science in motion. 3. Practical spiritual integration. Now, it's easy to think of walking barefoot as symbolic, but for Aboriginal peoples, it was also practical and profoundly spiritual at the same time. Going barefoot made people more sensitive to the earth, to texture, to temperature, to vibration. It trained awareness. When you're barefoot, you can feel the world, the pulse of the ground, the subtle shifts in terrain, the heartbeat of the land beneath you. And for indigenous cultures, that sensitivity wasn't just about survival. It was a way of listening to country. Each step became both navigation and ceremony, a physical act and a sacred one. 4. Ritual and ceremony. During dances and corroborees, bare feet took on even more meaning. When people stomped the ground, it wasn't random movement, it was activation. The rhythm of feet striking the earth called up the spirits of the land. The dust rising? That wasn't just dirt, it was energy. It was life force being stirred into motion. Shoes, in that sense, were more than foreign. They were a barrier. They broke the cycle of energy between people and land. To wear shoes was to interrupt communication with the earth itself. 5. Identity and law. In many Aboriginal communities, walking barefoot wasn't just a habit, it was part of law, ancestral law. It symbolized authenticity, a commitment to living in alignment with nature and with spirit. To be barefoot was to declare, I belong to this land. I walk in the footsteps of those before me. I live by the law of balance and respect. Shoes, introduced through colonization, represented separation, a physical and spiritual disconnect from country. 6. Modern scientific parallels. Now here's where it all comes full circle. Modern science has caught up, and it turns out those ancient barefoot practices weren't just symbolic, they were deeply physiological. Studies on grounding show that walking barefoot on natural surfaces, grass, soil, sand, allows your body to absorb free electrons from the earth. These electrons help neutralize oxidative stress, reduce chronic inflammation, and even improve sleep and immune function. Grounding can calm the nervous system, reduce pain and muscle soreness, improve cardiovascular health, and bring the body back into equilibrium. So, when Aboriginal peoples walked barefoot, they weren't just connecting spiritually. They were literally charging their bodies, like plugging into the oldest power source there is. To the Western eye, the barefoot indigenous person looked uncivilized. To the indigenous eye, the shoe-wearing colonizer looked disconnected, insulated from the very force that sustains life. Because to walk barefoot was never just about walking, it was about belonging. It was about remembering that the earth beneath you isn't a resource, it's a relative. That healing doesn't only come from medicine, it comes from relationships. So the next time you're in a park or near the ocean or on a patch of grass, take your shoes off, feel the ground. Remember that this ancient wisdom still lives beneath your feet. And that sometimes to move forward as a modern world, we first need to walk, just for a moment, like our ancestors did. Redefining the role of men, from balance to dominance and back again. Throughout history, the role of men has been shaped not only by biology, but by the values and structures of the societies they live in. If we look back far enough, before skyscrapers, before factories, before the modern idea of manhood, we find something different. In many indigenous communal societies, masculinity wasn't defined by dominance or ego. It was defined by service, by responsibility, and by balance. Men contributed to the survival and harmony of their people. They respected women, respected nature, and understood their strength as something sacred, something to be used in service, not superiority. But somewhere along the way, that balance began to shift. Modern culture began telling a different story, that to be a man meant to conquer, to compete, to achieve. Masculinity became less about contribution and more about status. And today, we're caught between these two worlds, where many of the same traits that once defined good, strong, dependable men like courage, assertiveness, and emotional control, are now criticized or even demonized. Let's unpack that. 1. The ancient indigenous understanding of manhood. In ancient indigenous societies, a man's role was deeply connected to community. It wasn't about domination, it was about balance. Men hunted, fished, built, and defended, but not for personal glory. Their efforts were for the tribe, for survival. A man's worth was measured not by how much he took, but by how much he gave. They were caretakers of knowledge, passing down survival skills, stories, and wisdom to younger generations. Teaching was an honor. Storytelling was a duty. They also played essential roles in spirituality. Men participated in ceremonies that honored nature, ancestors, and the cycles of life. Their spiritual connection was about harmony, supporting women's roles, protecting the land, serving the whole. Leadership wasn't a prize, it was a responsibility. Decisions were made collaboratively among elders, women, and community councils. And strength? Strength was ethical, not egotistical. Courage was used to protect and to build, not to control. In short, masculinity in these societies meant service, stewardship, and spiritual balance. 2. The modern male archetype. Now fast forward to the modern world. The definition of manhood has changed dramatically. Today, we see a different kind of archetype, one shaped by capitalism, media, and social hierarchy. Men are expected to be providers, their success measured by how much money they make or what status they hold. They're expected to be protectors, but also emotionally stoic, praised for strength, but discouraged from vulnerability. They're told to be leaders, but leadership now often means power over others, not responsibility to them. And of course, sexuality and confidence are constantly tied to performance, to dominance, to conquest. These expectations pull men away from the cooperative, spiritually grounded roles of their ancestors and into an endless cycle of proving, competing, and posturing. It's masculinity measured by output, not integrity. 3. The demonization of masculinity today. Now, here's where things get complicated. In modern discourse, especially in recent decades, many traditional masculine traits have come under fire. Aggression, for example, once essential for protection or hunting, is now often labeled as toxic. Assertiveness, once seen as a leadership quality, can be interpreted as domineering. Stoicism, emotional restraint that once represented discipline and strength, is now criticized as repression or emotional unavailability. Even ambition and competitiveness can be viewed as patriarchal or oppressive, regardless of intent. And sexuality, confidence, attraction, physicality, can easily be misunderstood or misrepresented as entitlement. Now, to be clear, many criticisms of unchecked or abused masculinity are justified. But when society begins to label masculinity itself as harmful, we risk throwing out the very traits that once protected, built, and stabilized our communities. Courage, discipline, assertiveness, responsibility. These are not toxic, they are tools. And like any tool, their impact depends on how they're used. 4. The bigger picture, redefining the male role. Now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because when we compare the indigenous male role to the modern male archetype, what we're really seeing is not just a difference in behavior, but a total transformation in values, purpose, and identity. In indigenous societies, a man's primary duty was simple but profound: to serve the community. His strength, his skills, his leadership, they existed not for ego, but for balance. But in the modern world, that duty has shifted. Today, men are taught that their role is to achieve status, to control, to compete. Success is measured in ownership, not contribution. And when that pursuit goes too far, it's quickly labeled as oppressive. Now let's talk about leadership. In traditional tribes, leadership was collaborative. Men led with others, not over others. Wisdom meant listening as much as speaking. But in our modern structure, leadership has become hierarchical, power stacked in layers, authority centralized. And that old rigid model is now under fire, often dismissed as toxic masculinity. But the truth is, the problem isn't masculinity itself, it's the imbalance. When it comes to emotion, the indigenous man expressed balance. He could be strong in battle and soft in the home. He could cry, laugh, heal, and protect, all without shame. In the modern world, men are told to stay stoic, to hold it in, to man up. And that emotional restraint, once seen as discipline, is now often criticized as repression. Now let's look at strength. For indigenous men, strength was sacred, used for protection and harmony. A strong man was a guardian of life, but today, strength is often portrayed as power for gain, a tool to dominate, not to defend. And because of that distortion, strength itself has been vilified, misunderstood as aggression rather than devotion. Finally, sexuality. Among ancient and indigenous peoples, sexuality was sacred and respectful. It was an exchange of energy, a union that honored life and creation. But in modern culture, it's become performative, dominant, and detached from spirit. And because of that, the masculine sexual nature is too often viewed as predatory instead of purposeful. So when we step back, we see a clear pattern. The indigenous man lived in balance with his people, his emotions, and his purpose. The modern man lives in conflict with the very traits that once made him whole. It's not that masculinity has failed, it's that it's been misunderstood, distorted, and disconnected from its sacred roots. And maybe, just maybe, the path forward isn't to reject masculinity, but to remember it, to return to that older, wiser, and more grounded form that once served not just the man himself, but the entire world around him. So what's really going on here? We've traded balance for performance, we've replaced service with status, and we've lost sight of the sacred responsibility that once defined manhood. In indigenous times, masculinity wasn't about being better than someone else. It was about being better for someone else. That's the lesson we need to remember, because the world doesn't need men who dominate. It needs men who protect. It doesn't need men who perform strength. It needs men who embody it. And it doesn't need men who seek power. It needs men who understand that true power comes from service. Maybe masculinity never needed to be redefined. Maybe it just needs to be remembered. The evolution of womanhood, from reverence to restriction and back again. Throughout history, the roles and responsibilities of women have always reflected the values and structures of their societies. In many indigenous communal cultures, women weren't just participants, they were pillars. They nurtured, taught, healed, and led. Their wisdom, fertility, and spirituality were celebrated, integrated into the rhythm of daily life. But in modern society, the picture looks very different. Today, women are asked to be everything at once: the perfect caregiver, the ambitious professional, the beauty icon, the partner, the mother, the muse, and somehow the moral compass of everyone around them. And yet, when women assert independence or deviate from these expectations, they're judged, labeled, sometimes even demonized. By comparing these two worlds, the indigenous and the modern, we can start to see how deeply cultural values shape what society expects from women, and how those expectations have become both empowering and impossible. Women in ancient indigenous communal living. In many indigenous communities, women were essential, not as a matter of token respect, but as a foundation for survival, balance, and continuity. Women were caretakers and nurturers, yes, but that wasn't a stereotype. It was an honored role. They raised children, prepared food, managed the home, but they didn't do it alone. Childcare and domestic life were communal. Support flowed between mothers, sisters, elders, and the entire tribe. Women also played a major role in agriculture and economy, gathering food, managing crops, trading, crafting, and sustaining local resources. Their work wasn't secondary to men's. It was complementary and essential. Spiritually, women often stood at the heart of the community. They were healers, shamans, midwives, and ritual leaders, guiding ceremonies, interpreting dreams, preserving knowledge. Their spiritual authority was deeply tied to life itself, to fertility, birth, and transformation. In this sense, the divine feminine wasn't abstract, it was embodied in everyday life. And when it came to leadership and decision-making, women's voices were valued. Councils often included women, self-life, and their insights were sought in matters of community, conflict, and justice. Even sexuality and fertility were respected as sacred forces. Fertility wasn't shamed, it was celebrated. Sexuality wasn't something to hide, it was part of the rhythm of life, part of the balance between men, women, and nature. In short, in many indigenous societies, a woman's identity was integrated. She could nurture, lead, create, and love, all without being fragmented or judged. #2. Modern stereotypical female archetypes. Fast forward to the modern era, and suddenly womanhood is boxed into narrow, often contradictory roles. Modern culture, especially through media, has crafted a set of archetypes that define what women should be. The caregiver or mother. She's praised for nurturing and emotional labor, but criticized if she doesn't give enough, or if she chooses not to mother at all. The career woman, ambitious, independent, driven, but often labeled cold, unfeminine, or too aggressive. The beauty icon, measured by appearance, judged by youth, valued by desirability. Society ties her worth to how she looks, not who she is. And the romantic or partner-oriented woman, constantly evaluated through her relationships, too single, too sexual, too picky, too dependent. In contrast to the holistic and respected roles of Indigenous women, modern archetypes divide women into fragments, each one judged, each one conditional. Instead of being valued for contribution, wisdom, or spirit, women today are measured by image, productivity, or compliance. 3. The modern-day demonization and pressure on women. And with these expectations comes an exhausting level of pressure. Women today are told to own their sexuality, but not too much, to be confident, but not intimidating, to pursue success, but still prioritize family, to look beautiful, but not vain. It's a constant, contradictory balancing act. Take sexuality. A woman who expresses desire or confidence can be shamed or labeled, while male sexual freedom is often normalized or even celebrated. Or motherhood versus career. Women who focus on family may be seen as unambitious, while those who pursue their careers are often labeled neglectful or selfish. Beauty standards are another battlefield. Unrealistic ideals of youth, thinness, and flawlessness dominate media, creating constant pressure and self-comparison. And when women display leadership or ambition, they're often called bossy, cold, or threatening. The same traits praised in men are criticized in women. Underlying all of this is a subtle, persistent moral judgment, a policing of women's choices, emotions, and bodies. Independence is reframed as rebellion. Confidence becomes arrogance. Sexual expression becomes immorality. It's as though modern culture asks women to be everything, yet punishes them for anything. The bigger picture, the evolution of the female role. Now let's look at the larger pattern. Not just how the role of women has changed, but how the meaning of womanhood itself has been reshaped, redefined, and in many ways, misunderstood. In Indigenous societies, a woman's primary duty wasn't about servitude, it was about service to life. She nurtured the community, preserved the culture, and held the wisdom of generations. She was the center, not just of the home, but of the spiritual balance that held the tribe together. Fast forward to the modern world, and that same woman is expected to be everything at once: the caregiver, the career woman, the beauty icon, the perfect partner. And no matter how much she does, the message she hears is, you're still not doing enough. Let's talk about leadership. In Indigenous times, women led through spirit and community. They were healers, counsel keepers, midwives, and teachers, guiding not through dominance, but through presence. Today, that kind of leadership is rarely emphasized. And when a woman shows ambition, when she takes charge, she's too often framed as intimidating or threatening. We've forgotten that leadership doesn't always roar. Sometimes it simply listens, nurtures, and leads through wisdom. Then there's sexuality. In ancient cultures, sexuality was sacred, an integrated and respected force. It was life-giving energy, not something to be hidden or exploited. But in the modern lens, it's both policed and sexualized. Too much, and she's judged. Too little, and she's questioned. Double standards and shaming have replaced reverence and respect. When it comes to work and contribution, the Indigenous woman's labor was communal and essential. She cultivated food, raised children, created art, kept stories alive. She was the heartbeat of the village. Today, work has become career-focused and individual, progress measured in titles and paychecks rather than community impact. And if she chooses family over career, or career over family, she's criticized either way. The balance she once embodied has been turned into a battle. Now appearance, another deep shift. In traditional cultures, appearance was functional and respected. Adornment had meaning: beads, paint, fabric, each a symbol of identity, heritage, and power. But today, appearance has been idealized and commercialized. Beauty has become a product, something to buy, chase, and compare. The pressure to conform has replaced the freedom to simply be. And finally, moral judgment. For Indigenous women, morality wasn't dictated by outsiders. It was community-based and guided by intention. A woman's worth came from her contribution and her character. But today, women face constant external judgment, from media, peers, even institutions. Independence, once a sacred form of self-mastery, is too often demonized as selfishness. So when we zoom out, we see how the indigenous female role was rooted in balance, harmony, and purpose, while the modern archetype is caught between expectation and exhaustion. What was once whole has been split into fragments: career versus motherhood, beauty versus authenticity, freedom versus approval. But here's the truth. The power of the feminine was never meant to be divided. It was meant to be embodied, not in competition with anyone, but in alignment with everything. The bigger picture reminds us that womanhood is not a checklist, it's a force of nature. And when that force is honored, society doesn't just heal women, it heals itself. So what does this tell us? That once women were seen as the connective tissue of life, bridging the spiritual, social, and natural worlds. Now, they're often trapped in a maze of contradictions, expected to achieve perfection across every dimension, while being judged for the very same qualities that make them strong. But maybe what we're really missing isn't a new idea of womanhood. It's the ancient one. The version where women were seen as whole, as creators, nurturers, leaders, and teachers, as vital to the balance of life itself. If we can remember that balance between strength and softness, ambition and compassion, self and community, we might begin to heal the cultural rift that's left so many women exhausted, misunderstood, and divided against themselves. Because womanhood isn't a performance, it's a power, and it's time we remembered that it always has been. The power of women healers, and the demonization of the witch. Throughout history, there's been a recurring story, one we've heard so many times that most of us stopped questioning it. It's the story of the witch, the old woman in the woods, the one with herbs and potions, the one everyone fears. But what if that story, the story we've been told to fear, was never about evil at all? What if the witch was never a villain, but a healer, a woman of knowledge, a bridge between people and the natural world? Today, I want to talk about how women healers, medicine women, midwives, and herbalists were turned into symbols of darkness, and why reclaiming their story matters more than ever. 1. The power of women healers. Long before hospitals or pharmacies, communities relied on women, wise women, who understood the rhythms of the earth. They knew which roots soothed pain, which teas calmed fever, which rituals restored balance. They were midwives, herbalists, spiritual guides, the keepers of knowledge that kept their people alive. These women didn't just treat illness, they nurtured life itself. They healed the body and the spirit, and because of that, they held a kind of power. Not the power of conquest or title, but the power of connection. That independence made them a threat, because their wisdom didn't come from a church, a king, or a textbook. It came from the land, the ancestors, and experience. So, when systems of centralized control began to rise, the church, the state, colonial empires, these women became targets, not because they were evil, but because they were powerful. 2. Religious and colonial campaigns. Let's start in Europe. As Christianity spread across the continent, older spiritual systems, pagan, Celtic, Norse, were slowly replaced. Healers, midwives, and priestesses who once served their communities were rebranded as heretics, sorceresses, or agents of the devil. It wasn't random, it was strategy. By labeling earth-centered healers as evil, the church could centralize spiritual authority. Healing would now happen through prayer and priest, not herbs and intuition. And that same mindset traveled across oceans. When European colonizers arrived in Africa, the Americas, and Asia, they saw indigenous medicine women practicing their own traditions, ceremonies, plant medicine, connection to the elements. And they did the same thing. They demonized them. By calling indigenous healers witches or devil worshippers, colonizers justified suppressing local authority, banning native spirituality, and replacing it with Western religion and medicine. It was never just about belief. It was about control. Over people, over knowledge, over land. Half 3. The witch trials and propaganda. Then came one of the darkest chapters, the European witch hunts. From the 1400s to the 1700s, tens of thousands of women were accused, tortured, and executed, often for nothing more than practicing traditional medicine or midwifery. In 1487, a book was published that would change everything, the Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of Witches. It was basically a manual for hunting women. It warned that midwives and healers consorted with demons, killed infants, and used magic to harm men. It sounds absurd now, but back then, it worked. Art and storytelling spread these ideas. The image of the witch, hook-nosed, hunched, stirring a cauldron, became propaganda. A smear campaign so effective, it still shapes how we picture female power today. It turned women's wisdom into horror. It turned community healers into monsters. Hab 4. Patriarchal and economic motives. Underneath the hysteria, there were clear motives, patriarchal and economic. By targeting midwives, the male-dominated church and medical establishment could take control of birth, literally, control over life itself. Healing, once rooted in community and nature, became institutionalized, licensed, and monetized. And during colonization, discrediting indigenous spiritual leaders made it easier to seize land and outlaw local traditions. If the medicine woman was evil, her rituals could be banned and her land could be taken. The witch hunts weren't just about superstition, they were about restructuring society, shifting authority from women to men, from community to institution, from nature to industry. 5. The lasting cultural impact. Fast forward to today, the witch is still with us. She's in fairy tales, Halloween costumes, and movies. Always ugly, always old, always dangerous. That's not a coincidence. That stereotype was designed to make us forget who she really was. Because behind the broomstick and the pointy hat was a woman holding knowledge, herbal, emotional, and spiritual. And when we call her evil, we erase centuries of female wisdom, the birth of herbal medicine, midwifery, energy work, and holistic care. What do we call alternative medicine today? Much of it comes from the very practices once condemned as witchcraft. The core truth: the evil witch archetype isn't just folklore, it's historical propaganda. It was a tool used to disempower women healers, erase indigenous knowledge, and centralize control of spirituality and medicine under systems of authority. But behind every story of a witch burned, there's another story of a woman who healed, protected, and carried wisdom forward despite the flames. She was not casting curses, she was casting cures. And if there's one lesson we can take from her story today, it's this. When you silence the healers, you silence the harmony between humanity and nature. But when you listen again, when you reclaim that wisdom, you begin to remember what real healing means. Because maybe the witch was never evil at all. Maybe she was just free. From witchcraft to Western medicine, the power shift in healing. Let me ask you something. Why were women once burned at the stake for using herbs that we now buy in pill form at the pharmacy? Why were midwives branded as witches when modern hospitals are now reintroducing their ancient birthing methods as innovations? What changed? Not the medicine, not the results. What changed was who had the power to define it. 1. Herbal knowledge versus pharmaceuticals. Once upon a time, healing was the work of women, medicine women, herbalists, midwives, who understood the language of plants. They used willow bark to ease pain, foxglove for heart issues, and garlic as an antimicrobial. Simple, natural, and effective. But back then, that wisdom wasn't called medicine. It was called witchcraft. It was dangerous, forbidden. A woman with too much knowledge of the earth was accused of consorting with dark forces. Now, centuries later, those same ingredients form the foundation of pharmaceuticals. Salicylic acid from willow bark becomes aspirin. Digitalis from foxglove becomes a regulated heart medication. And garlic, it's now a superfood. The plants didn't change. Our perception did, once institutions learned how to package, patent, and profit from them. 2. Midwifery versus obstetrics. For generations, midwives were the guardians of birth, trusted, intuitive, experienced. They knew how to bring life safely into the world using wisdom passed down through lineages. But in Europe and early America, they were branded as witches, blamed for infant deaths, and driven out of practice. And who replaced them? Men in white coats. The field of obstetrics rose, claiming authority over childbirth, medicalizing what had always been a natural sacred act. Now fast forward. Hospitals proudly offer new services, water births, delayed cord clamping, natural birthing positions, all the very same practices that midwives were persecuted for centuries ago. So what changed? The method? No, the marketing. 3. Spiritual healing versus mind-body medicine. Let's talk about the spiritual side of healing. Energy work, ritual, meditation, prayer. Once upon a time, those practices were condemned as superstition, evidence of witchcraft or devil worship. Communing with the unseen was dangerous, heretical. Today, mindfulness and meditation are billion-dollar industries. Hospitals now run stress reduction programs teaching breathwork, energy visualization, and mental focus. Essentially, the same ancient superstitions, now dressed in lab coats and neuroscience. It turns out, what was once called magic is just science we hadn't studied yet. 4. Control and gatekeeping. Here's the pattern. Then it was the church and the crown controlling who could heal. Now, it's corporations and regulators. Both systems decide what's safe, what's legitimate, and most importantly, what's profitable. Folk remedies were demonized until they could be monetized. Once they were, they became modern medicine. This isn't science versus superstition, it's control versus freedom. 5. Public perception. Centuries ago, a healer by the fire was feared as a witch, her remedies whispered about in secret. Today, a scientist in a sterile lab is celebrated for using the same compounds, rebranded, bottled, and sold back to us with a price tag. The irony is breathtaking. The same healing traditions once condemned as dangerous are now the foundation of our health systems. How religion rewrote the story of the feminine. The way societies have understood women tells us more about those societies than about women themselves. In ancient polytheistic cultures, Greece, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Africa, the Americas, women were seen as reflections of the divine feminine: power, fertility, intuition, and wisdom. Goddesses didn't just nurture, they ruled. They created life and destroyed armies. But when monotheistic religions began to dominate, when the world shifted from many gods to one, that one was almost always male. And slowly the image of woman changed. From creator to subordinate, from sacred to sinful, from powerful to dangerous. This transformation didn't happen overnight. It evolved through scripture, interpretation, and cultural inheritance. Let's explore how religion, particularly within Judeo-Christian traditions, shaped and sometimes distorted how women were seen. 1. The cultural context of the ancient world. The world of the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament was profoundly patriarchal. In those times, women had few legal rights. Men were heads of households, decision makers, and public leaders. That wasn't unique to Israel. It was true across the ancient Near East. So when we read the Bible, many passages reflect those cultural norms, not necessarily divine mandates, but the social structures of the time. It's important to understand that before we interpret what those words mean for us today. #2. Stories that cast women negatively. Nowhere is this more visible than in the story of Eve. Eve's choice to eat the forbidden fruit has often been portrayed as the moment humanity fell, the moment sin entered the world. But look closely, the text also holds Adam responsible. Yet later interpretations exaggerated Eve's role. Over centuries, her story was used to argue that women are morally weak, easily deceived, and unfit for leadership. Then there's Delilah, who betrays Samson. Jezebel, portrayed as a manipulative seductress. These stories became archetypes: the temptress, the fallen woman, and those archetypes echoed through centuries of theology, art, and law, shaping how entire cultures saw women's morality and worth. 3. Teachings used to restrict women. Certain passages in the New Testament became tools of restriction. For example, 1 Timothy 2 verse 12, "I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man." For centuries, verses like this were used to keep women out of pulpits, priesthoods, and positions of influence. But here's what's often missed. These words were written in a very specific historical moment. Early Christian communities were small, fragile, and operating under the scrutiny of the Roman Empire, a culture that expected women to remain silent in public life. Many scholars today argue that those teachings were contextual, not eternal laws. They were practical instructions for survival, not divine decrees to suppress half of humanity. And 4 counterexamples. Women celebrated in Scripture. Yet, even within those same texts, women stand out as strong, wise, and deeply honored. Deborah was a judge, a military and spiritual leader. Ruth and Esther changed the course of their people's history through courage and faith. In the New Testament, Mary Magdalene was the first witness to the resurrection. That's no small detail. She was entrusted with the most important message in Christianity. And what about Jesus himself? He spoke to women others ignored, the Samaritan woman at the well. He defended women others condemned, like the woman accused of adultery. He healed them, listened to them, and welcomed them as disciples. His ministry, in many ways, restored the divine feminine that society had buried. 5. Interpretation over time. So how did we go from that, from inclusion and respect to centuries of suppression? The answer lies in interpretation. As Christianity institutionalized, power became centralized in male hierarchies, in patriarchal theology, in cultural structures that valued obedience over equality. Over time, leaders emphasized the verses that supported male authority and quietly downplayed the stories that celebrated women's strength. The result? A long history of selective reading, one that told women their silence was holy, their leadership was rebellion, and their bodies were temptation. But modern theologians, especially women scholars, are rereading these texts, and what they're finding is transformative, that many biblical teachings, especially those of Jesus, don't justify oppression, they challenge it. So are women demonized in the Bible itself? Not exactly. What we see is something more complex, a mirror of ancient societies filtered through centuries of male interpretation. The danger wasn't always in the text. It was in the translation, in how people with power chose to tell the story. And that's the heart of this conversation. Women's worth was never lost in the sacred. It was buried in the structures around it. When we re-examine those stories, with eyes unclouded by fear or hierarchy, we rediscover something beautiful. From Eve to Mary Magdalene, from Deborah to today, the sacred feminine has always been part of the divine story. It was never gone. It was only waiting to be remembered. From goddesses to silence, how religion shaped the story of womanhood. Throughout human history, the role and perception of women have never existed in isolation. They've always been reflections of the spiritual and cultural systems that surrounded them. In ancient polytheistic societies, the worlds of Egypt, Greece, Mesopotamia, India, women weren't just participants in religion, they were divine. The goddess wasn't just a symbol, she was power itself: birth, destruction, wisdom, sensuality, chaos, creation. But as monotheistic traditions emerged, religions centered around a single, often male deity, the story changed. The sacred feminine became the silent feminine. Women were redefined not as embodiments of divine power, but as moral lessons, idealized for obedience, purity, and service. So today I want to explore that transformation, how the spiritual landscape shifted from many gods to one God, and how that shift reshaped how humanity saw women, from complex beings of power to symbols of virtue or sin. 1. Ancient polytheistic views of women. In ancient polytheistic cultures, divinity was diverse. There wasn't one way to be god or goddess. There were hundreds. Take Isis in Egypt, protector, mother, healer, magician. Aphrodite in Greece, love, beauty, and desire. Inanna or Ishtar in Mesopotamia, goddess of fertility and war. Or Shakti in Hinduism, the very energy that fuels the universe. Goddesses represented the full spectrum of life: creation and destruction, wisdom and sensuality, love and vengeance. And that complexity mattered because it reflected onto women themselves. In these societies, women could serve as priestesses, oracles, midwives, and healers, roles that carried genuine spiritual authority. Their voices weren't just permitted in sacred spaces, they were essential. Even morality looked different. In polytheistic myths, goddesses were never one-dimensional. They could be powerful and flawed, nurturing and fierce. Their stories didn't punish them for being complex, they celebrated it. And perhaps most importantly, fertility, the power to bring forth life, wasn't just biological, it was cosmic. To give life was to participate in the divine act of creation itself. That's why fertility goddesses were at the center of rituals, harvests, and entire civilizations. In Egypt, for example, The goddess Isis wasn't just revered, she was essential, protector of kingship, restorer of life. Through her, women gained a spiritual dignity that connected them directly to the divine order. 2. The monotheistic shift. Then came monotheism, the age of one God, one truth, one divine authority. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, each brought immense spiritual depth, but also a profound restructuring of power, both divine and social. Suddenly, God was no longer a balance of male and female energies. God was He. And that shift changed everything. In creation stories, women became secondary. Eve, made from Adam's rib, formed after man, and when she acted independently, she was blamed for humanity's fall. That single narrative, that temptation, curiosity, or desire could lead to destruction, echoed across cultures for centuries. From there, women were no longer seen as independent sources of divine energy, but as reflections of men, defined in relation to husbands, fathers, or sons. Virtues like obedience, chastity, and service became spiritual ideals. Not strength, not wisdom, not creation, but submission. And female authority in religion, largely erased. Where priestesses once led rituals, monotheistic institutions often forbade women from spiritual leadership altogether. Religious law began to codify gender roles, making the hierarchy sacred. Even the symbolism of women's bodies changed. Fertility, once holy, became morally policed. Female sexuality was framed as temptation, as danger, as sin. Women were divided into extremes: the Virgin Mary, pure and obedient, or even Lilith, symbols of defiance and lust. The divine feminine was split in two, revered or reviled, but rarely understood as whole. 3. Poly versus mono. Now, when we place these two worldviews side by side, polytheism and monotheism, the contrast is striking. They don't just tell different stories about the divine, they shape completely different ways of seeing humanity, power, and especially women. Let's start with divine representation. In polytheistic traditions, you'll find many gods and goddesses, male and female, each representing forces of nature, emotion, or human experience. There's a god of war, a goddess of fertility, a spirit of the wind, and a deity of wisdom. The divine was everywhere, and it looked like everyone. But when monotheism took root, that diversity condensed into a single male god. One supreme being, one image of power, one ultimate authority. That shift alone began reshaping how humanity saw itself. Now let's talk about the view of women. In polytheistic systems, women weren't just secondary figures. They were complex, powerful, and multidimensional. Think of Isis, Athena, or Shakti, each embodying strength, wisdom, and creation in her own right. But as monotheism grew, women's roles often became subordinate, moralized, or idealized, placed on pedestals or punished for imperfection. The feminine divine was replaced with the idea of obedience, purity, and restraint. Then we move to religious authority. In ancient polytheistic societies, women could lead, teach, and perform rituals. They were priestesses, healers, and oracles, direct channels between the divine and the community. But under monotheistic systems, leadership became largely male and institutional, organized, hierarchical, and exclusive. The sacred became centralized and in many ways sanitized. When it comes to morality, polytheism allows for nuance. Goddesses could be wise or wild, nurturing or destructive, and it was all considered natural, part of the great balance. There was room for complexity. But in monotheistic traditions, women were often cast in moral extremes, either saints or sinners, Mary or Eve, pure or fallen, nothing in between. And finally, sexuality and fertility. In polytheistic belief, these were sacred forces, celebrated as expressions of life itself. Sex was creation, fertility was divine power in motion. But as monotheism spread, sexuality became something to control, restrain, or label as temptation. No longer divine, but dangerous. So when you look at the big picture, polytheism celebrated diversity and balance. Monotheism emphasized hierarchy and purity. One saw the sacred in everything. The other confined it to one place, one being, one version of truth. And that shift didn't just change religion. It changed how humanity saw itself, how it treated women, and how it understood the divine. This wasn't just a theological shift, it was a social one. It redefined what was sacred and who could embody it. 4. The larger meaning. So what do we learn from this evolution? In polytheistic traditions, women mirrored the gods, multifaceted, contradictory, creative, and strong. In monotheistic traditions, women were often narrowed into ideals, pure, modest, obedient. their complexity flattened into moral categories. Polytheism made space for paradox. Monotheism demanded purity. And while both systems offered wisdom and beauty, one celebrated the divine in women, the other too often feared it. So when we talk about the sacred feminine, we're not just talking about goddesses or mythology. We're talking about memory, the memory of a time when creation was shared, when the divine spoke in many voices, not one. And maybe, as we continue to evolve spiritually as a species, it's worth asking, what happens when we stop fearing complexity? In women, in spirituality, in ourselves, and start honoring it again? Because the divine didn't lose its feminine side. We did, and the world is still trying to remember her. Understanding energy work and the chakras. Look, I know I've hit you with a lot so far. A lot of foreign concepts, unfamiliar words and ideas that might have flown right over your head the first time. We've talked about energy, chakras, meridians, chi, pressure points, Kundalini, all kinds of stuff that might make you wonder, okay, what does any of this actually mean? And how does it help me heal? So, in this section, I'm going to break down some of the most important words, symbols, and ideas in energy work, clearly, simply, and in a way that helps you understand exactly how this all connects to your emotional, physical, and spiritual healing. Understanding key energy concepts. In South Asian spiritual practices, especially yoga, you'll hear the word pranayama. Pranayama comes from two Sanskrit words, prana, breath, or vital life force energy, ayama, control or regulation. You'll also hear the term Kundalini, meaning coiled snake. It refers to a powerful, divine energy believed to rest at the base of the spine. Kundalini practices, like Kundalini yoga, aim to awaken and raise this energy up through your chakras to the head, leading to profound spiritual experiences. And this concept isn't unique to India. Ancient Greece had it too, through the rod of Asclepius, the symbol of medicine and healing, a single serpent wrapped around a staff. It represents health, renewal, and transformation. It's different from the caduceus, which has two snakes and wings and is linked to Hermes. Yet both symbols show up everywhere in modern Western medicine. Civilizations across time understood the same thing. Awakening this serpent-like energy and guiding it upward creates healing, clarity, and connection. How do you awaken it? Through breathwork, meditation, physical movement, or sometimes it awakens spontaneously. When it does, it can create huge shifts, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It helps you release old trauma and reconnect with your truest self. The power of unblocking your chakras. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt off? Not sick, not tired, just off, like something inside isn't flowing right? That something might be your chakras. These 7 energy centers run from the base of your spine all the way to the top of your head. When they're open, energy moves freely. You feel grounded, creative, confident, loving, expressive, intuitive, and connected. But when they're blocked, everything in your life starts to feel stuck. Today, we're going to explore what happens when each chakra is blocked and how you can begin healing them from the ground up. How to unblock your chakras. You can use both physical and energetic practices, meditation, breathwork, yoga, sound healing, spending time in nature. You can also go deeper with ancient tools like crystals, essential oils, salt baths, specific foods, or creative expression, painting, journaling, dancing. And if you want profound healing, affirmations, mantras, or working with an energy healer can help restore balance and alignment. Now, let's move through each chakra together, starting at the root and rising all the way up. 1. The root chakra, Muladhara. The light frequency for unblocking is red. Resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 256.87 Hz. For higher or lower octave frequencies that's comparable, multiply or divide by 2. Example, 1 octave higher is 256.87 Hz times 2 equals 513.74 Hz. Music key for unblocking is C, when A equals 432 hertz. The root chakra sits at the base of your spine. It's all about security, stability, and survival. When it's blocked and underactive, you will feel constant anxiety or fear, especially around money, safety, or change. You might feel ungrounded or disconnected from your body. When it's blocked and overactive, you might swing the other way, obsessed with control, possessions, or material gain. This is the most important chakra because it's the root, the foundation. If this energy center is blocked, you can't unblock the others above it because they are all built on this root principle, which is why it's called the root chakra. When blocked, this is where fear, insecurity, and anxiety live, and where these fester, nothing can grow. Examples of a blocked root chakra include fear of intimacy, fear of rejection, anxiety over money, anxiety about appearance, fear of imagined danger, insecurity in roles like parent, partner, friend, worry that love will be taken away, pressure from work or bills. All of these are root chakra imbalances, and they must be purged before higher chakras can open. When it's blocked, it's associated with the sin lust. Definition of lust: an intense and often unbridled desire for something, whether it's sex, porn, drugs, alcohol, etc. Examples: constant pornography, objectifying people, promiscuity without intimacy, drug or alcohol dependence. Chasing euphoria to escape pain. When the root is healed, you feel grounded, safe, confident, secure in your place in the world. You trust your ability to survive and thrive. This is the chakra you will work on the longest because it is the foundation of everything. The sacral chakra. Svadhisthana light frequency for unblocking is orange. Resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 288.33 Hz. For higher or lower octave frequencies, that's comparable. Multiply or divide by 2. The musical key for unblocking is D, when A equals 432 Hz. The sacral chakra is located below the navel. It governs creativity, emotions, and pleasure. When blocked and underactive, you might feel emotionally numb, uninspired, or uncomfortable with intimacy. When blocked and overactive, emotions can run wild, leading to mood swings, codependency, or blurred boundaries. When it's blocked, it's associated with the sin, sloth. Definition of sloth: a spiritual and physical laziness characterized by lack of effort and a neglect of one's duties and spiritual development. Examples: avoiding important tasks or work because you are lazy, failing to develop your spiritual or intellectual life because it requires effort, neglecting one's family or community out of apathy. But when it's healed and balanced, life feels fluid. Creativity flows effortlessly. You can express yourself fluidly. You enjoy healthy pleasure freely and uninhibitedly. You form relationships built on mutual respect and emotional balance. 3. The solar plexus chakra, Manipura. The light frequency for unblocking is yellow. The resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 323.63 Hz. The musical key for unblocking is E, when A equals 432 Hz. The solar plexus chakra is just above the stomach, rules personal power and self-esteem. When blocked and underactive, you might doubt yourself, struggle to make decisions, or constantly fear judgment. When blocked and overactive, that energy can turn into aggression, perfectionism, or control issues. When it's blocked, it's associated with the sin, gluttony. Definition of gluttony: overindulgence and overconsumption to the point of waste, often concerning food and drink, but applies to anything that goes beyond what is needed for nourishment. Examples: eating an entire meal far beyond your capacity, even though you are not hungry. Obsessively eating expensive or delicate foods, even when you don't have to. Wasting food when others are starving. It can also include excessive anticipation of meals or eating the most expensive foods. Applies to eating too quickly or eagerly, but when it's healed, you feel confident and self-assured. You trust your gut, literally. You have clear purpose, motivation, and discipline. You know your worth, and you don't need validation from anyone else. Side note: why the root comes first? Can you see why I said that the root chakra is the most important? Why I said it's the foundation and that you can't unblock and heal the other chakras without healing the root first. When it's blocked, that is where fear, insecurity, and anxiety live. How can you feel creative from the sacral if you're filled with fear from the root? How can you feel confident from the solar plexus if you're drowning in insecurity from the root? How can you enjoy pleasure, express yourself, or stand in your power when anxiety is running the show? You can't. That's why healing must happen step by step. Once the root is stable, as all foundations should be, each chakra above becomes easier and easier to heal. For the heart chakra anahata, the light frequency for unblocking is green. The resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 342.88 Hz. The music key for unblocking is F when A equals 432 Hz. The heart chakra is centered between the lungs. The heart chakra is the bridge between the lower and upper chakras, between earth and spirit. The 3 chakras below deal with earthly challenges. The 3 above deal with ethereal, spiritual connection. The 3 chakras above are unlocking your ethereal connection with that life force energy we've spoken about before. The one governing earth, all living things, and the cosmos. As above, so below. And it's no coincidence that moving the H in earth to the front gives you heart. Remember, words mean everything. Words are manifested by spelling. And spelling manifests reality. When the heart chakra is blocked and underactive, love feels hard. You might struggle with trust, forgiveness, or connection. Loneliness and resentment can take root. When blocked and overactive, you might become clingy, overly empathetic, or unable to set boundaries. When it's blocked, it's associated with the sin, envy. Definition of envy: a feeling of discontent or unhappiness caused by someone else's good fortune or possessions. It can stem from a fear of losing something to a rival. Examples: feeling bitter and angry because a coworker got a promotion you wanted. Secretly hoping for someone else's failure so you can succeed. Putting down someone's accomplishments because you are jealous of their success. Feeling resentment when a friend buys something new, or gloating when you see another person experiences misfortune. But when your heart chakra is open, healed, and balanced, everything softens. You can give and receive love freely. Forgiveness becomes easier. You feel peace, joy, and compassion, not just for others, but for yourself too. 5. The throat chakra. Vishuddha. The light frequency for unblocking is blue. Resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 384.87 Hz. The music key for unblocking is G when A equals 432 Hz. The throat chakra is your center of communication and truth. When blocked and underactive, you might stay quiet when you should speak. You fear judgment or misunderstandings. When blocked and overactive, you might talk over others or use words as weapons. You will have word diarrhea of the mouth because you're uncomfortable with silence. When it's blocked, it's associated with the sin, wrath. Definition of wrath: an intense, uncontrolled feeling of anger or rage, often accompanied by a desire for revenge or harm. Examples: losing your temper and yelling or screaming at a loved one over a minor issue. Physically harming someone in a fit of rage. Holding a deep grudge, or wishing harm on someone who has wronged you. But when your throat chakra is healed and balanced, your voice carries power and integrity. You express yourself authentically, listen deeply, and your words match your truth. You genuinely listen to others and won't just wait for your turn to talk. Your creativity flows through speech, art, or writing. Remember, you are now dealing with the upper 3 ethereal chakras, meaning once you unblock and heal these, you will be able to tap into the universal life force energy. You will begin to manifest things you speak into reality. Remember, your body is a resonance chamber full of vibrational energy. When you speak aloud, the vibration from your throat resonates through every cell and organ in your body. If you speak those words with strong intent behind them, they resonate even more. Words are so potent that you don't even have to speak them. If you just think of words or read words and process them, they will still vibrate every cell and organ in your body. And because of that, you will start to manifest your reality. You don't believe me? Have you ever had a whole conversation in your head? Ever get riled up because of it? In that conversation, were the words in your voice? Think about it. A word is not uttered from your mouth or throat, yet your conversation in your head is in your voice. That's the power of your energy. Your voice, your words. That's why ancient civilizations chanted together to manifest weather or to heal an ill member of their society. That's why later civilizations prayed over their food. Your words with strong intent behind it manifests reality, whether positively or negatively. Examples of it are in Dr. Masaru Emoto's water and rice experiments we showed you before. This is why wrath is the sin associated with a blocked throat chakra. What are the things you do when you feel an intense, uncontrolled feeling of anger or rage? You curse the person or situation with words, either with your verbal speech or conversations in your head. You think of scenarios in which you exact revenge upon said person or situation. Now that anger and rage has resonated into every cell and organ in your body, your whole being is now the personification of wrath. 6. The third eye chakra, Ajna. The light frequency for unblocking is indigo, extremely dark blue. The resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 432 Hz. The music key for unblocking is A, when A equals 432 Hz. The third eye chakra is located between your eyebrows. This chakra connects to intuition and inner vision. The pineal gland, the third eye, the all-seeing eye, the eye of Horus, the eye of providence, Gyananakashu, the eye of knowledge, Lord Shiva's Trinetra, Trinetra meaning three eyes. All of these represent the most powerful and potent energy center in your body, the governing source of your being, which connects you to the one governing energy source of the universe. When it's blocked and underactive, you might feel confused, directionless, or overly judgmental. When blocked and overactive, you might lose touch with reality, living in imagination, paranoia, or delusion. When blocked, it's associated with the sin, greed. Definition of greed: an excessive and selfish desire to acquire and hoard wealth, possessions, or power beyond what one needs, related to avarice or covetousness. Examples: obsessively wanting more money, even when you have enough to live comfortably. Taking a job or promotion primarily for the salary rather than for personal fulfillment or the good of the company. Unjustly acquiring or holding on to possessions that belong to others. Taking more than your share of a resource, or desiring and gaining possessions beyond your basic needs to the point of hoarding. But when it's clear, healed, and aligned, you see with insight and clarity. You trust your inner knowing. Your intuition is heightened. You will detect dangers of negative, dark intended energy around you immediately. And you will have the foresight to remove yourself from that energy at once. You're self-aware, open-minded, and guided by wisdom, not fear. This also intensifies your ability in manifesting your wishes and goals into reality. After an unblocked throat chakra resonates and vibrates your verbal and thoughtful intentions repeatedly within your body, the unblocked third eye chakra turns that resonation into profound knowing, which is the foundation of belief. 7. The crown chakra, Sahasrara. Light frequency for unblocking is violet, close to white in its highest state. Resonant sound frequency for unblocking is 484.90 Hz. Music key for unblocking is B, when A equals 432 Hz. The crown chakra is the gateway to spiritual connection and universal consciousness, right at the top of your head. In other words, this is your antenna. This is where you channel all your unblocked chakra energy and transmit into the ethereal world. This antenna also attracts whatever it transmits. When it transmits healthy, positive energy, it receives healthy, positive energy. If the vessel is full of blocked chakras and transmits unhealthy, detrimental, negative energy, it receives unhealthy, detrimental, negative energy, which is where the old adage, you give what you get, comes from, meaning that the energy, actions, and effort you put into something is what you will receive back, often in kind. When blocked and underactive, you might feel empty, purposeless, or overly attached to material things. When blocked and overactive, you might float through life, lost in abstract spirituality without grounding in real life, trying different paths in life because of lack of purpose or being. When it's blocked, associated with the sin pride. Definition of pride: an excessive belief in one's own superiority and importance often leads to looking down on others. An inflated sense of self-importance or superiority that is considered the root of all other sins. Examples: refusing to accept criticism or feedback because you believe you are always right. Constantly bragging about your accomplishments or possessions to make others feel inferior. Believing you are better than others and looking down on them. Condemning others for their faults. Believing you are too good for someone. Having a constant need for admiration and attention. The saying, pride before the fall, comes from this. The blocked crown chakra represents pride. The highest point of spiritual enlightenment, the crown, and the sin of pride is what sends you tumbling back down to the root chakra. It is also the analogy of a fallen angel being expelled from the spiritually enlightened heaven. the head. Down to hell, the heel, the part of the foot that grounds you to the earth. It's no coincidence that the two most absorbent parts of the body are the scalp and the soles of the feet. The sole of the feet. But when your crown chakra is healed and open, you experience profound peace, a sense of oneness with everything around you. You feel guided, purposeful, and free from ego. There's wisdom, serenity, and a knowing that you are part of something far greater. Closing thoughts. Each chakra tells a story, a mirror of your emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Unblocking them isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. Because the moment you begin to notice where your energy is stuck, you've already started to move it. Healing your energy centers isn't a mystical escape, it's a return. A return to your body, your truth, your balance. And when your energy flows, so does your life.